Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sports Marketing Manager for Lowe's, Gray Abercrombie, as he delivers the most famous words in motorsports.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
Matt Kenseth on the pole. Darrell Waltrip on his way up to the play-by-play booth to join Larry and Mike. Guys?
Thanks, Chris, and hi, everybody. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series has more mile-and-a-half super speedways than any other configuration. They're all similar, but they each have their own character. And the character lines that have developed on this racetrack are a series of little whoops down in turns 1 and 2. These little bumps can be treacherous, as David Reagan found out during his qualifying run yesterday. Over the bumps, high up and into the dust, and around he went. He did not damage the car, but neither did he post a qualifying speed for today's race. So you've got to watch those bumps down in turn 1 and 2. They could be the defining character of this race today, Larry.
Yeah, and the guys talked about it in the pre-race. There's a sense of urgency to win right now with these drivers. And you know what? It's tough to win. Just ask Jeff Gordon. Speaking of Jeff Gordon, last week ended that 66-race winless streak. I look at guys that's been fast all week long here. Matt Kenseth, he hadn't won in over 2 years. Mark Martin hadn't won in over a year. But how about a couple of guys in the top 10 still looking for that first win, like Marcus Ambrose or A.J. Allmendinger? I think like in the first 2 races of 2011, we may get a surprise today.
Well, this is the place where streaks are begun and broken. Now, don't worry, Darrell hasn't gone Elvis on us. He'll join us for the call when we come back. Welcome back to Las Vegas, where the field rolls off pit road and begins to form up behind the pace car for today's Kobalt Tools 400 on Fox. Friday, Matt Kenseth broke a 72 race, trying to break a 72 race winless streak, sat on the pole along with Marcus Ambrose. It's all Fords up front. Then Kyle Busch and Joey Logano in Toyotas in row 3. Allmendinger and Newman with his first top 10 start this year. Truex and Mark Martin, who won yesterday. Jamie Mack and Regan Smith, his best Las Vegas start, 12th. Jeff Gordon, the 2001 winner, and Jimmy Johnson, who's won 4 of the last 6. Trevor Bayne with Tony Stewart trying to win here for the first time. Denny Hamlin, engine change, he'll go to the back. Brian Vickers trying to change his luck this season with Brad Keselowski. Jeff Burton, 2-time winner here with Kurt Busch. Montoya with Bobby Labonte, top 10 in points for Labonte. Kevin Harvick, the runner-up here last year with Rudiman. Mears and Boyer in the 14th row. 2-time truck winner here, Mike Skinner with Casey Kane. Joe Nemechek and J.J. Yaley in the 16th row. Dale Jr. 10th last week there with Dave Blaney. David Gilliland and rookie Landon Castle. Bill Elliott and Robbie Gordon in the 19th row. Then Travis Kvapil and rookie Andy Lally. Tony Raines with David Reagan, who did not complete his qualifying lap, and Michael McDowell is the 43rd and final starter. Only one driver did not make the show, and that was Brian Keselowski.
Mike, the fans at home, you see 2 groups of cars. And what NASCAR does, they put a pace car in front of the first 20 cars and let them set their pit road speed. What the guys found out when they're all 43 bunched up together, the guys in the back were not getting a good reading. So they put another pace car, a second pace car, to let the group in the back here get their pit road speed.
Let's get downstairs to our fearsome foursome, the NASCAR on Fox All-Star Pit Crew. Steve Burns.
Well, thank you, Mike. You were talking about Matt Kenseth trying to break that 72 race winless streak. Everybody I talked to in the garage area this morning pointed at that purple number 17 car and Matt Kenseth as the one to beat. You're talking about a guy who has 18 race wins and a championship, and he's got a little extra motivation, a brand new baby daughter, Grace. He'd like to go to victory lane today. Krista?
Steve, in Vegas, you have to choose to either stay or hit. Denny Hamlin's team had to make that choice this morning. Fix a rocker issue in the engine or play it safe and change it out. They changed the engine. They're going to the back, and Mike Ford, crew chief, said of all the places to give up track position, this track is the absolute worst. Matt Yoakum?
Krista, a number of firsts here at Las Vegas for Mark Martin. Won the first ever Cup race here. He won Saturday's race, and the car looked extremely fast in final practice. The biggest positive he told me about his race car this weekend, it was consistent from one end of the corner to the other. A tick on the free side, which he liked. But the concern, Jeff Hammond touched on the fuel issue, but Lance McGrew, his crew chief, told me the biggest concern he has, judging from Mark's performance in Saturday's race, the car was extremely loose. The track could be a lot different today, making this first segment of the race extremely important. Dick Bergman?
Well, Greg Biffle told me this morning he's very confident about his chances to win this race this afternoon, and why not? He's been fast in practice, qualified in the 4th position, and he has a winning car. Won the Kansas race last year with this same automobile. And Biffle has one of those fast Fords.
Thanks, Dick. This race is brought to you by Budweiser, the beer that starts with full flavor and ends with a crisp, fast finish. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. It is the pole sitter's choice of which lane from which to start the race. Matt Kenseth has chosen the outside lane to bring them down for the green. Let's have a look at the Kobalt tools to the race. We've talked about the bumps in turn 1. Well, why not just take the high road? You'll see a lot of drivers working the high lane early to stay away from the bumps that are more prominent in the lower groove.
And what happens is if we watch David Reagan going around the racetrack, you know, he had a problem yesterday in qualifying, but the big thing is communication. Telling that crew chief what I got to do to get through those bumps.
And the thing I'll communicate to you, if we get an opportunity, even outside of our fuel window, we won't pass up an opportunity to put fuel in that race car late in the race.
Larry, you're in the desert. Don't pass on a chance to get gas.
Absolutely never at Vegas.
Ready to race in the Nevada desert right across the street from Nellis Air Force Base. Today, 400 miles is the distance. That'll take 267 laps to complete, 45 on pit row. And Larry, the fuel window is a little variable depending on who you talk to.
Well, it is. You know, they're still searching with this new Sunoco fuel. They're still searching with the tuning and the fuel mileage. I think that will be a player before this day's over.
Denny Hamlin at the back due to an engine change. His teammate Kyle Busch did that 2 years ago here. From the pole, went to the back for an engine change, won the race.
Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing Vegas style, boys.
Wide on this opening lap. And Matt Kenseth, the fastest man all weekend here, will lead them to the line for lap 1.
He's been first in pretty much everything that's taken place here for 3 days. He was first in practice Friday, sat on the pole, leads the first lap of the race. Could be a good omen for the 17 car.
Maybe they didn't tell his teammate Greg Biffle, because there's that 16, another Roush Fenway car, right with Kenseth. And I would expect them to kind of hold station together through the early part of this race. Wonder if Matt will let Greg lead a lap and pick up a bonus point early here.
I don't think so. I think it. I said in the pre-race show, I want to win. That's what gets your name in lights.
What you love about this mile-and-a-half racetrack, the different grooves. You can see Kenseth in the 17 on the high side, Biffle in the 16 on the low side, gets the run down to that back straightaway.
And of course, the other thing we've heard here all week is the dominance of the blue oval. These Fords came here loaded for bear. I mean,
tight quarters as Jeff Gordon muscles his way through.
Saw that last Sunday.
Yeah,
kind of likes that kind of driving style.
Now there is a line painted at the inside of the track. It's not the double yellow line we had at Daytona. There is no official out of bounds where you can get penalized if you dip below the line. It's all, if it's paved, it's yours.
You'll see that a lot, especially through the front straightaway here in the tri-oval. Go way down on the apron.
Dick Berggren.
Well, as good as Greg Biffle looks right now, Mike, he has got still more in that car, and he said the chassis isn't just right yet. It's a little bit tight.
So what? You're leading, and you're pulling away. Doesn't get any better than that.
You know, a little tight at the speed you're running here is not a bad thing, DW. Over 200 miles an hour getting off in the corner.
It's not as sunny, and I thought it was going to be real bright and sunny, about 75 today. A little overcast, a little sun coming and going. That's going to make the grip level pretty high. That makes for great racing and high speeds.
And already it's a two-groove racetrack. You see Jimmy Johnson up on the outside. Now Paul Menard's been moving up in that 27. He's going to make the move on Johnson.
Right now, Mike, you're just kind of feeling this thing out. Track's a little bit dirty where it's been setting, and they've had to parade laps and everything. Track will come around. It's going to change a little bit. Got to stay on top of it. Remember that communication thing.
Trevor Bayne had a... Giving his crew chief Donnie Wingo feedback. He's picked up 5 spots since the start of the race.
Speaking of Trevor, Leonard Wood came over to me down there in the pre-race show, still living off the adrenaline of that Daytona 500. Didn't even mention Phoenix.
But what I love, in only his 4th Sprint Cup Series start, the feedback that Trevor Bayne has given about that race car.
It's really good, Larry. He's got a good head on his shoulders, and he knows what he likes, and he knows what he wants in that race car.
2 cars that started in the back. Denny Hamlin's gained 7 spots, 11 plus 11 for David Reagan. As we watch David Rudiman in the 00 and Jamie Mack in the 1.
Now, I've been watching this one car of Jamie McMurray we're riding with. He's actually sliding backwards since the start of the race. He started back in the 11th position. He's already back to the 20th, Steve. Car's not driving too good for him right now.
Larry, I talked to Kevin Mannion this morning, the crew chief on that car. He said it's kind of a double-edged sword. They had made the car
trouble. Turn 4, Steve. One car sliding around. It's Robbie Gordon.
Caution's out, turn 4. Caution's out, turn 4. Coming.
You know, the trends of the race says we always have a caution here within the first 10 laps. Robbie Gordon didn't let us down.
Caution at lap 8 is the first of the day. Car took a long slide through turn number 4 and ended up down on the apron. Don't see any evidence of contact with the wall.
I've been amazed at how these cars, I mean, we've seen single car spins several times this week. You see Robbie way back there in the middle of turn 3 and 4, coming out of 4. Stays in the throttle. That's where all the smoke's coming from. Keeps it from backing up into the fence. Saves it and drives on.
That was right in front of Denny Hamlin.
And right over Digger.
It's a dirty job, Digger.
4 tires for Robbie Gordon. Now we're 8 laps in. Will they stop, Dick?
Well, they're discussing that in Greg Biffle's pit right now. They're looking at how many laps they've got, whether they should. They're 25% into a fuel run. Steve.
Dick, listening to the 17 team, they're talking about it right now. If they do stop, it'll be fuel only. Matt?
Deep down in the 99 pit, their teammate Carl Edwards, at this juncture, it appears they're going to go fuel only on the 99. Krista?
Marcus Ambrose is struggling with the exact same issue he had in practice. He's tight in the right front. He told his crew chief, Todd Parrott, I need more grip in the rear. Todd says, I'm going to give you that with a wedge adjustment. They'll come if the leaders come.
4 Fords at the front, then the 2 Toyotas of Busch and Logano, the Chevy of Newman, and everybody else. Jeff Gordon stays out. Most of the rest of the leaders will pit.
And like our guys and girls reported, I think especially if you're at the front of the pack, it will be fuel only, and that'll make it a little dicey on pit road.
Biffle away, Kyle Busch. You see the air and fuel coming up in that clear vent hose so the fueler can tell it's full. Kenseth away. And one near miss on pit road. Menard coming out as Mike Skinner tried to get in. Kyle Busch picks up 2 spots. Caution flag pit stops at Las Vegas. Today's aerial coverage brought to you by Kobalt Tools. Drag strip in the background. Las Vegas Bull Ring, the dirt track, and this beautiful 1.5-mile oval with Jeff Gordon on the inside for the restart. We're back under green.
Jeff was ready.
Yes, he was.
He took off.
As you said, Darrell, what a renewed Jeff Gordon. Way up high, Ambrose and Kenseth.
I believe Kenseth, in fact, that Kenseth's up on the outside. I believe he may have a flat tire, Larry.
He either has a flat tire or he's got something on his tires, but Tony Stewart in the 14 has taken the lead from Jeff Gordon in the 24.
Got a flat rear tire. I don't know which one. Here it comes.
That's Matt Kenseth on the radio.
4 tires, guys. 4 tires. Watch your speed here. Watch your speed.
And the pole sitter.
Mike, get your binoculars. Is it the right rear? Let them know if it's the right rear, and we'll just do right. Get your binoculars.
It's the right rear, I believe. Just looking at him come down pit road.
Taxi, anyone?
Just
Las Vegas fastest taxi driver this week, Tony Stewart, puts his car in the wind. Watch Matt Kenseth from the bottom.
Boy.
Ooh.
Good job by hanging on to that bad boy, and nice job by Marcos to miss him.
Yeah, the 9 car just barely got by.
Yikes. Oh, my goodness.
Way too close. And right in front of that came the lead change as Tony Stewart stormed around the outside of Montoya, and a smoker, a spin, turn 2, and it's Andy Lally, the sports car champion, who's come over to
Keep going, buddy. You're fine.
try NASCAR this year. As a rookie, he has brought out the second caution of the day.
You know, one thing I heard some of the guys talk about was these tires. They need a few laps to get heat in them so you can get going on them with a little bit of comfort, and I don't think they've got that in some of these cars.
Watch the 34 of David Gilliland, Darrell. He's the white car down to the inside.
Close, 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 close. Ever so close. Maybe too close. I tell you, 2 things happened to that 71 car. The 38's right there on his back bumper, and that gets you a little bit loose. But when that car went by on the outside, it just finished him off. Have to get another look at it, see if there really was any contact, and I was mighty close. But that air will do it to you. Jamie McMurray out there on the outside going around, it just sucks you right around. Car on the outside is like a vacuum cleaner. Just grabs hold to your back of your car and sucks you right around. Oh!
That was actually a pretty big break for Matt Kenseth, our pole sitter in that 17 car.
Well, not quite, Larry, because Robbie Gordon, who spun to bring out the first caution, is the first car 1 lap down. Robbie Gordon will get the free pass, not Kenseth. But it's still a benefit. You're right.
Because he was almost going to go 2 laps down had we stayed green flag racing. Now he's the only car a lap down.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. on pit road, along with Jamie Mack and about 4 others from the back of the pack. Let's have a look at today's UPS logistics of the race. First, beware the bumps in the banking. We've talked about the bumps in turn number 1. The banking is right there. It's that transition from turn 4 down to pit road. This is a very difficult pit entry coming off the banking.
And you know what? These guys last week, they kind of bugged me just a little bit. Talking about racing too hard. You got a gas pedal in there. If you don't like the racing around, you just back off and get away from it. But you better race hard.
And I'm going to tell you what, you better be aggressive on restarts. I know for a fact that's something that Jeff Gordon, our 24 guy, he worked on a lot during the offseason.
16 laps, 2 caution flags. The first for Robbie Gordon, the second for Andy Lally. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
The Kobalt Tools 400 on Fox is sponsored by Kobalt, the next generation of top tools. By the new Chevy Silverado HD, Motor Trend's 2011 Truck of the Year. And by Sprint, proud sponsor of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series.
17 laps into the race. We'll complete lap 18 with the waving of the green flag. Tony Stewart bringing him to green, along with hometown hero Kurt Busch. Jeff Gordon 3 wide down to the bottom. Wow, not going to make it.
No,
well, I hope they don't complain about him racing too hard on that restart. That was just uncalled for. Go get him, Jeff.
Excuse me while I wipe the sarcasm off here.
Yeah, no kidding.
Power move. Daryl, you said you had to get aggressive.
Yeah.
And you did speak to him yesterday.
I did. And he is, I'll tell you, I've never seen him so fired up. He is a happy boy right now.
All right. Logano, Kyle Busch, A.J. Allmendinger, and Martin Truex racing for 8th place.
Tell you what, Larry, old Tony Stewart up there leading this race. He got that old taxi cab wound up. He's been there at the front ever since we started, and he looks like he got a pretty fast car.
Well, he had a great car at Phoenix, and like Jeff Hammond pointed out, went with those 2 tires late in the race. May have cost him that race.
And here's that battle for 8th place on back.
Now that's just off into that corner a little over 200 miles an hour, side by side into a almost flat turn. Try that at home. No, don't try that.
No, please don't.
Don't try that at home. Don't try that in the cul-de-sac there.
Or on the way home. Carl Edwards with Trevor Bayne, the 99 and 21. Ryan Newman behind them. Biffle coming back toward the front.
Let's get our little steering wheel into play here. Look at that. He just turning a little bit down in the corner. Let's see what he does when he crosses through these bumps right along there. Looks like the car was, maybe he was just a little bit above him, Larry, because he didn't see any movement in the steering wheel. Dead center down the back. Going to cut in here pretty hard. Pretty sharp turn getting in. 22 degrees right there. That's quite a bit of wheel. And you hold that a long way up off that corner.
Watch this miles per hour here going down the front straightaway off into turn 1. You just had talked about 200 miles an hour, Daryl. There it is, right at 200. And this is into a race run.
It's holding a pretty smooth. Actually, that car looks like it's driving excellent. It's not having to fight the wheel. You see it go to the right hardly any at all. That's what you want.
Tony Stewart, the leader. He's out front by 1.2 seconds over Kurt Busch. That stays constant over the last couple laps. How about that 2nd place car, Dick?
Well, it's a bit of a surprise that Kurt Busch is running as well as he is, Mike, because in practice, he wasn't very good. He qualified in the 22nd position, and I asked this morning, both he and his crew chief, Steve Addington, what did they change in the car? And Kurt looked at me and said, you'll have a shorter list if I tell you what we didn't change. So this was kind of a roll of the dice, if you will, a setup they really hadn't tried that they're running here this morning.
I think I saw a lot of that going on in the garage area this morning, Dick. A lot of drivers and teams searching for what they felt like they needed for this 400-mile race today.
Yeah, you just go out there and look around, talk to some of your buddies, find out what they're doing, and put it all in there, and it works sometimes.
Juan Pablo Montoya, one of the biggest movers of the race, as he gives way to Greg Biffle going into turn number 3. Still up almost 20 positions from the start of the race.
And I said it works sometimes, Mike, because sometimes your buddy doesn't tell you everything.
Right. David Reagan spun during qualifying, did not post a lap, started at the back 42nd. He's gained 20 spots. Good rebound. Marcus Ambrose in the 9 could well be the story of this race. The Tasmanian Devil, who's got a new ride this year with Richard Petty Motorsports. He's been fast all weekend.
And one of his biggest desires is to be successful on an oval. We know he can race on a road course. He's proven that. But he wants to win an oval race. A lot like Juan Pablo. You know, that's the big thing for those road racing guys. They want to show that they're good enough to win on ovals, too.
Let's go to Ambrose pit. Krista?
Well, something else that Marcus Ambrose feels is his advantage. When talking to him, I said, describe yourself as a driver. He said, I am pretty stubborn, stupid, and strong. Matt?
And talking about the 24, Jeff Gordon, his car has gone extreme to the tight side. Now he asked his spotter, Jeff Dickerson, comments about what Tony Stewart was saying about his car, because this morning when he had talked to Stewart said his concern was he had a short run car, meaning his car was really good at the beginning of the run. But now, since Gordon's car has gone on the tight side, he's wanting to know what the lines are. And DW, you've talked about it so many times. If your car's not good in the bottom, you can migrate around to find a better lane. And that's what Gordon's trying to do for the 24.
And that's, again, some of that communication. Listen to your spotter. Listen to your crew chief. Where are the fast guys running? What line are they running? And then you got to go hunting.
And Ruderman prevails, bringing Kyle Busch with him past Jeff Gordon. I want to go back to what Krista said and Marcus Ambrose quote. I would replace stupid with single-minded. And to me, one of the traits of really great race drivers is they can put everything else and every other input, information, suggestion completely out of their mind and concentrate on the task at hand.
Yeah, well, you got to be like a computer. And, you know, every now and then you got to hit reset and start all over. And that's what the guys like Marcos has to do on over. Sometimes you got to hit reset and listen to what people are telling you.
And there's nobody better at that than the man who's won 5 championships in a row, Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, he has slid back a little bit, though, since the start of the race. Jimmy started in 14th all the way back to 25th now, Mike.
We might be in the early stages of a long green flag run as Tony Stewart leads Kurt Busch by 3 seconds in Vegas. 35 laps complete in Las Vegas. Tony Stewart still leading. Let's take an inside look at what's happening now in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint and HTC Evo 4G. Stewart has the fastest lap of the race so far, 29.60. And David Reagan, up 21 spots, is the biggest mover. Fuel your inner NASCAR fan with live in-car audio and real-time stats on NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile and the new HTC Evo 4G. Only from Sprint at sprint.com/speed. Stewart's lead on Kurt Busch, 3 seconds. Greg Biffle closing on Busch.
Now just remember, as we just crossed lap 37, our fuel window is about 48 to 52 laps. 5 of our top 8, they have not been to pit road yet, including Tony Stewart in the 14, Kurt Busch in the 22, Montoya in the 42, Ruderman in the 00, and Jeff Gordon in the 24. 10 to 12 laps, they will have to make a green flag stop.
And what was your point at the beginning of the race?
Never pass up an opportunity to dump fuel in her.
Jeff Gordon chasing Carl Edwards for 8th place. 2 of the drivers that expect to figure in the final rundown here today. Steve.
And Mike, just to follow up on Matt Kenseth, he had that flat right rear tire. They pitted, took right side tires, then they came back down pit road. Jimmy Fennig, the crew chief, and Matt Kenseth, the green, let's put left sides because we're the first car 1 lap down.
But the problem, Tony Stewart under this long green run continues to put other cars a lap down that takes Matt Kenseth in the 17 out of the free pass. The good news, though, he can go about 20 more laps on his fuel.
Right now there are 4 cars 1 lap down. Quapples, Rains, Lally, and Kenseth. Was there a little contact there between Brad Keselowski in the 2 and Jamie McMurray? They're running at 27th and 8th position with Dale Jr.
Now Dale Jr. just slid in between the 2 of them. So if there was, he just said, here, I'll break this up.
Now, Dale Earnhardt Jr., I think he has maybe a little fresher tires than some of these guys. In fact, he was on pit road in that 88 car back on that last caution.
He and McMurray both pitted at lap 16. 4 tires. There's the contact. Yes, there was. Steve?
Mike, when the caution came out on lap 13 for Matt Kenseth, I was in the process of talking about the 1 car. He thought he had a flat tire as well. Jamie McMurray came to pit road. Turns out he was just so loose he couldn't drive it. So they changed tires and set him back out.
Yeah, when you ride around under caution and you pick up a little debris on the tires and you're a little bit loose anyway, you think that thing is flat.
12th place. Paul Menard in the 27 trying to hold off A.J. Allmendinger. And Trevor Bayne, who was honored by the city of Knoxville, Tennessee, his hometown, on Monday. Next Sunday at 1 p.m. on Fox, Daytona 500, the American Dream. You'll see a replay of the race like you've never seen it, with added commentary from Carl Edwards, Jeff Gordon, Trevor, and more in a 1-hour show at 1 p.m. next Sunday.
Just needs to have a really solid day. You know, we said that going into Phoenix and things didn't work out. Here he just needs to get a good solid, like he said, maybe 15, 20 place would be a good finish for him today.
Tony Stewart trying to drive away from the field here in Las Vegas. Welcome back to Las Vegas. 48 laps complete. Kurt Busch has been on pit road for his first stop of the day under green. And here comes David Rudiman. Dick?
Rudiman has had a good car all weekend long, Mike. They just need to button it up and get it right. A good pit stop is going to help them a whole lot in that direction. Second can of fuel is going in, and that could be the limiting factor. Fuel takes so long. Gas man nods and he goes.
3 drivers have not yet made a pit stop today. 8th place Jeff Gordon, 3rd place Juan Montoya, and the race leader Tony Stewart.
I'd be willing to say we're going to see this 24 car of Jeff Gordon on pit road probably maybe the next time around, not to be too far behind Tony Stewart and Juan Pablo Montoya.
Yeah, you never gamble early on your fuel. You come a little conservative.
Montoya is in. Gordon is with him. Matt.
Running as high as 3rd with Juan Pablo Montoya. He slides to a stop, misses his marks. Mark Jacobs, the track man, former Kentucky Wildcat football player, he had to move a little bit. He says the car was tight at the end of that run. The same for Jeff Gordon, significant chassis adjustment to try to get that 24 car a little more on the free side.
And here is Stewart, the race leader, coming to pit road at lap 50, right in the middle of the fuel window. Stewart coming in as Jeff Gordon leaves. Greg Biffle will be the new leader. Dick?
And Stewart's car has been very good all day, Mike. They're not going to change anything in the chassis of this car. His gas man, Gooch Patterson, one of the biggest on pit road, 360 pounds, 6'5" He can handle that gas can for sure.
Now I saw he had to wait with the second can for the tire changer and tire carrier to come around in front of him, and that costs a lot of valuable time. Casey Kane is in. Steve?
And Mike, Casey Kane does not like the way his race car is handling it at all. He said it's shaking like it's ready to explode. His car will not handle it all. They're going to go to an extreme, put a spring rubber in the right rear.
Regan Smith is also in. And Jamie McMurray coming back in along with Paul Menard.
Yeah, I think over the next 8 to 10 laps, all of the drivers that were on pit road at lap 10, you'll start seeing them sprinkle in there. The problem is, even though they've got enough fuel to go a little further, Steve, they don't want to give up what those fresh tires are doing for those guys that just pitted.
Boy, that's exactly right, Larry Mack. Jamie McMurray just telling Kevin Mannion, this car just keeps getting looser and looser. 4 tires and fuel and an air pressure adjustment for Jamie McMurray.
And I misspoke. Paul Menard did not pit. That was Robbie Gordon coming in the pits. And Michael McDowell, who had been in the garage, comes back on the racetrack.
This is where the crew chief's got to be a really good salesman. This is when he's got to convince that driver, if the car's not very good right now, we will get it better for you. We can fix it. You got to sell that to a driver because the driver gets frustrated. Krista.
Kyle Busch planning to come in. Kyle saying his car is just a little bit loose up off of 1 and 2, but really good in 3 and 4. Matt?
Krista, one of the fastest Fords all weekend, Carl Edwards, they've already completed a chassis adjustment for his car. It was just snuck past center neutral off. Near the end of that run, it gone to the free side. It was a handover, Krista.
Marcus Ambrose saying his car's tight in the center, a little loose in and off, but it's working so much better on this run in 3 and 4. That's why he's staying on the bottom line. He's talking to his crew chief, Todd Parrott, about what adjustments he needs in this 9. Dick?
Greg Irwin is going to tell Greg Biffle when it's time to go. Billy Manchester is the gas man, and he has got to get it all in. He is handling both cans. Matt.
And the 48 Jimmy Johnson, another car, slides to a stop. Look for some significant adjustments for Johnson, fighting several issues. The car free all the way through the center, and then tight late in the run in the center of the corner. His teammate Mark Martin, the 5, he's already pitted. Air pressure change for Martin.
Martin Truex surrenders the lead to Paul Menard, and Truex comes to pit road along with Trevor Bayne, David Reagan, Ryan Newman, and Clint Boyer. Dale Earnhardt Jr. also in, David Gilliland. Now, Larry, not all these cars needed gas right away, but we'll find out why after Steve.
Mike Martin Truex Jr. likes his car. He said it's perfect coming off the corner. He just needs a little bit of help turning in the middle. Small air pressure adjustment. Krista?
Trevor Bayne spent yesterday talking to some of the Roush drivers to find out what line he should run. He just made a 4-tire change. They had taken fuel only earlier on the last run. Trevor, pretty happy with his car right now.
Now, Larry, not all these drivers needed fuel this early. Paul Menard was one of those in at lap 10. He's still out on the racetrack along with Harvick and Blaney. So why did they short pit?
Well, he's banking on a caution, but I think he's coming to pit road right now. Problem is, when you're out there like Paul Menard, that 27 was, you're giving up about a half to 3/4 of a second to guys like Tony Stewart, who had been leading this race, that came to pit road and got 4 fresh tires.
Trevor Bayne, too fast entering pit road. He'll have to come back through.
Boy, that's a common problem here. Getting on pit road is tough. Steve.
Kevin Harvick.
What they say is.
DW Kevin Harvick saying that the track is starting to come to him. Car's starting to feel good. They're going to make a track bar adjustment on that 29. Paul Menard in the 27, you see him on the bottom. He's also in. He's saying the car will not turn in the center. I'm trying to change my groove and move up the racetrack a little bit. 4 tires, air pressure adjustment for the 27.
And the new leader is the Axel Construction Chevy for Dave Blaney. Driving for Tommy Baldwin, the former World of Outlaws champion from Ohio, finds himself out in front.
Yeah, led some laps in the Daytona 500 a couple of weeks ago.
You know, we always kind of worked in the theory that if the car's not good until the first pit stop, try to hang with it and don't lose too much time, and then we can make the car better for you. That first pit stop, getting in, making that initial adjustment, is a game changer.
Now on the right of your screen, Trevor Bayne makes the pass through to serve the penalty for entering the pits too fast, and this will put him 1 and perhaps close to 2 laps down to the leader.
Here we see Dave Blaney in the 36 making a pit stop. Darrell, you explained these guys, these drivers getting their pit road speed under the pace laps. Now the pit road speed here is 45 miles an hour, and they base it off of RPM. But I think the thing we have to stress, NASCAR gives them 5 miles an hour. So that means Trevor Bayne was actually faster than 50.000 to be caught speeding on pit road.
And then again, Larry, just repeat what I said, but getting off of the racetrack and not getting run over by somebody behind you is hard to do, and that's where the speeding usually happens, getting on pit road.
So we cycle back through. Mike Skinner led a few laps, and now Tony Stewart is back in front. He had a 3-second lead before pit stops. Now it's 2 seconds over Kurt Busch. You're riding with Kyle Busch, who is up to second. Sponsifier's back for 2011. This year, the winning designer gets a personal visit from their favorite driver. So go online for all new ways to create, customize, and share your designs at toyotaracing.com. 67 laps complete. Green flag pit stops. Here is the sequence.
Yeah, what this is the 2 laps, including the trip to pit road for the pit stop. And there's a number of things that can factor in to the difference, like you see between Kyle Busch in the 18 and Martin Truex Jr. in the 56. It could be getting on the pit road. It can be the pit stop itself. It can be getting back up to speed, but that's the full 2 laps, including the stop.
All right, let's hear Carl Edwards' recap of their stop and go.
Damn, 18 killed us, quarter lap.
No, we didn't have a very good lap here, bud. Take care of your stuff. We didn't have a very good pit stop. It'll be okay.
Okay, yeah, 10-4, we're not complaining. Just letting you know in case there's something else going on there.
10-4, buddy.
That's a good salesman, and that's a good customer. He just bought what he was selling.
Well, I think, Darrell, if somebody yards you by a quarter of a lap, you're going to want to know why.
Oh, exactly. I mean, when you're very competitive like we know Carl is, and Carl is he's still a little upset about last week. He knows he had a car last week that could have won. Saw him this morning. He said, this car can win today. It's almost as good as last week. Good enough to win.
I've got a little toy up here that can tell a big part of the difference. Kyle Busch's crew.
92 in front there. 64 on second place. Their
pit stop was 12.7. Carl Edwards in the 99, as his crew chief Bob Osborne pointed out, a slow stop, 15.7, 3 seconds right there in the stop alone.
And that on the racetrack looks like he yarded you.
0.4 seconds. That is the gap from Tony Stewart in the 14 to Kyle Busch in the 18. Now Greg Biffle is 1.7 seconds off the lead. There's your first and second place cars. Krista?
Kyle came on the radio and said, my car is good. It is really good.
Now here's Greg Biffle, 1.6 seconds back of the leaders after starting fourth.
I've been watching this 22 car of Kurt Busch. He came out of the pits right after that pit stop. That car was evil. Now, it does seem to have gotten better as they run a few laps here, but I don't think he's totally happy with his piece right now.
Biffle works past Travis Kvapil. And here comes Kurt Busch.
There he is.
Well, they did a great job of getting track position. After starting 22nd, they moved up to the top 5 and stayed there.
Yeah, I think when he came out of the pits, it could have been a product of really low air pressure, which is what these guys do once the race gets started. Car was sideways a couple of times, but it looks like it's gotten under him a little better now.
Carl Edwards in the 99 car, 7 seconds behind our leader Tony Stewart in the 14, right now in the 5th spot.
Meanwhile, Jimmy Johnson has fallen to 24th, and Matt, he is within about 3 more seconds of being lapped. Why?
He is just trying to hold on right now, Mike. He said simply, since the pit stop, the car just will not go anywhere like he would prefer. It's both tight and loose, just trying to get that balance. Chad Canals trying to be a good coach, trying to keep him pumped up. Just told him, you'll figure it out, just keep digging. And Jimmy says simply, I'm trying, believe me, but we're not making any headway.
Remember last year when all we talked about is how fast this 48 car was? Well, they've lost a little speed. I found out why. They're working on a new setup. They don't want to be so fast. They want to be more consistent. And what they're trying to do, just like at Phoenix last week, this car theoretically in their mind is going to get better about halfway through the race. We'll see.
Johnson 24th, while Tony Stewart leads Kyle Busch, opening it up now to 0.8 of a second. There's first place.
NASCAR on Fox Live in Las Vegas, and nearing the 1/3 mark of this race, and Tony Stewart, who has led the most laps, has the lead over hometown Kyle Busch. Greg Biffle running third. Some of the storylines watching: Matt Kenseth, who was the pole sitter, suffering an early flat tire, went all the way to 43rd, is trying to work his way back up, trying to end a 72 race winless streak. Denny Hamlin, engine problems, had to start at the back of the pack. He's never led a lap in a Las Vegas race in his career, and has no top 10s this year, but is up around 21st right now. And Dale Earnhardt Jr., who started 33rd, got up as high as 5th, currently running at 22nd, also trying to put an end to a winless streak of 95 races. And Mike, the over-under you can bet in Vegas on cautions in this race is 9.5. We've only had 2 so far.
I'll take the under, Chris. Thanks. Tony Stewart leads Kyle Busch by 1.2 seconds. In the garage, Landon Castle, Joe Nemechek, and most recently Regan Smith. They popped the hood on the Furniture Row Chevrolet, looked around the engine compartment, and pushed him to the garage.
I think this weather is not quite as hot as these guys thought they were that it was going to be. These engines are working hard, man. They're well over 9,000 RPM, 200 mile an hour off in a corner. Wouldn't be surprised if we don't see a couple more of those hoods go up.
Traffic jam in Las Vegas, and not the one down on the strip, as Stewart works his way underneath Mike Skinner. Watch this, David Gilliland and Keselowski getting a little rough.
Yeah, you know what? I think sometimes it looks like they touch, but really and truly it's just that pocket of air that pushes that car around and makes it look like there's contact.
Greg Biffle moves past. Now Biffle and Biffle running in 3rd place right there.
You know, just about that 78 car, Regan Smith, remember that is a ECR engine, Earnhardt Childress Racing engine in that car. And I'm getting a report that Danny Lawrence, one of the chief engine builders with Richard Childress Racing, went straight to that garage area to take a look at what might be wrong with that engine.
I think they're maybe just a little bit gun shy after Daytona. So, you know, they don't need a problem here.
Based on your votes, today's Pizza Hut fan favorite is Jeff Gordon, last week's winner. Let's have a look at how Jeff is doing after that round of stops. He's in 10th place, 12 seconds off the lead. right in the middle of the lead lap cars. There are 24 of them. Matt?
And Mike, he's simply telling Alan Gustafson that he has to be very careful with that right rear. It's just so sensitive on entry and exit, the car being on the free side. He says, absolutely, this run, we have no grip.
Yeah, he says he's sliding all over the place and lost all their forward bite after that pit stop.
Well, losing forward momentum is Jimmy Johnson. There's your 5-time champion, not too far in front of Tony Stewart. He's 30 seconds back and in danger of going a lap down. Here's Dick on the leader.
Well, Tony Stewart just got on the radio and told the crew that after that last pit stop that the car started out to be a bit free, but that now it is balanced and very drivable. Stewart has never won on this racetrack, has come close before, and today he's got a terrific race car.
Yeah, in 2002, Dick, he led the most laps here, 76, but finished 5th.
You know, as he's chasing Jimmy Johnson down, who we're riding with, trying to put him lap down, Darrell has talked a lot about this during the offseason, about how regimented that Jimmy Johnson is and working out. That's something that Tony Stewart worked hard on this offseason. He lost weight, and he mainly focused in on the way he was eating and the things he was eating.
And has done a great job. Darrell, you said one of the keys today was to drive a little more aggressively. Watch Kyle Busch 1 lap ago, the 18 in turn 2.
Yeah, this is a perfect setup for Kyle Busch. 2 cars in front of him, and I'll just take the middle.
Coming through.
I mean, he loves this kind of situation right here. Would you try that? No, I wouldn't. He would.
Why is he charging so hard? Because this man, the 14, Tony Stewart, is trying to get away from him. They are 2.2 seconds apart. Kyle Busch is in trouble. He's got into the wall. He's cut down a right front tire, and now for debris, the caution has come out. Watch for the 18 coming into frame here.
Yeah, he had a right front tire go down, and slight contact. I don't see a lot of damage to the right side of that car.
Third caution flag of the day. It comes at lap 97.
And we were right on the verge of having to start green flag stops again. In fact, David Ruderman in the 00 was sitting on pit road when that caution came out.
I think Jimmy Johnson missed a free pass by 1. I think that David Reagan got it, and he's just ahead of Jimmy.
Krista.
Kyle Busch is on the radio right now with dissension towards his crew chief, Dave Rogers. They were going to take 4 tires. Dave tried to get him out before the leader, so they only took 2. Kyle then said, it doesn't matter. The leader already went by. We could have gotten our 4 and been in better position.
Thanks, Krista. Larry, if you're Matt Kenseth and you're at the tail end of 1 lap down, our pole sitter, the fastest guy in practice, right now he's out of contention. You can't dare stay out and take the wave around to get a lap back, can you?
Not this deep in a run, because they're sitting within about 5 laps of having to make a green flag pit stop. The only driver that can really do it, I think they went ahead and changed 4 tires, is David Ruderman in the 00 car. He doesn't have to come back to pit road. Everyone else will. Maybe they'll roll the dice with the 18.
All right, they'll head for pit road, which will be open this time. Matt.
Carl Edwards sits 4th, and DW touched on it earlier, Mike, that the temperatures today a little cooler than what many crew chiefs had expected. Bob Osborne talked about possibly adding tape to the grill because the temperatures are a little down on this 99 machine. Carl says the car on the free side, but manageable. Expect a slight adjustment on the 99. Dick?
Tony Stewart will come in leading this race and just 2 pits away. Greg Biffle, who will pit out of the 2nd position. Neither car needs substantial adjustments. They are both very fast today.
Marcus Ambrose says his race car is still just a little loose. They're going to fix it by making a slight track bar adjustment. You'll see the wrench go in the back window. Just a half round is the plan. There you see the right side tires going on. The rear carrier makes the change as they come around to get the left and 2 cans of Sunoco fuel.
Let's update you on the free pass situation as they race off pit road, and Stewart will lead that group off. David Reagan had been running the first car 1 lap down, but at the moment of caution, Kyle Busch had just gone a lap down. since he brought out the caution, he's not eligible for the repass. There is no free pass on this caution.
Two-time champion Tony Stewart has never won in Las Vegas, but is leading today and has led the most laps. Time for a quick AT&T race break from the Hollywood Hotel with former crew chief Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers. The early pace of pit stops, what we've seen and how you think that will play out through the afternoon.
Well, we've already had one incident of guys speeding down pit road. I think the other thing is all the changes we're seeing with these guys making adjustments, kind of a new routine. Some of them are a lot slower than others. Tony Stewart had a really solid pit stop. Greg Biffle, he lost a lot of valuable time along with Carl Edwards on pit road. I really believe before it's all said and done, mistakes on pit road and the right decision, right call at the right time will win this race.
Time to check out the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew Award in the season standings. As Jeff just kind of alluded to, AT&T wants to know what you think. Text the car number for the crew you think will average the least amount of time on pit road today to 2345667. AT&T, the nation's fastest mobile broadband network.
Getting ready for the restart. Further clarification on the free pass. The caution was not for Kyle Busch. The caution was for debris on the racetrack, and as such that is not charged to a driver. So Kyle Busch was the first car one lap down at the moment of caution. He did receive the free pass. J.J. Yaley, David Rudiman took the wave around. Rudiman not stopping under this caution, and we're back under green at lap 102.
But Rudiman is in good shape because he had just left the pit, so he basically is almost on equal ground with everybody else. Oh, trouble.
Around goes Kurt.
Come on, toss it out behind you. Toss it out behind you.
And around goes Casey Kane.
That 22 car, I saw it the last time after a pit stop. They're really evil to drive, and it looked like it's caught up with him this time.
On pit road, where are we at?
Let's watch this unfold from our Kobalt Tools aerial coverage. Watch the bright banana yellow car of Kurt Busch, the 22.
Worst case scenario, if you're loose, cars to your right there, gets off in the corner, tries to make a run up under Montoya. Got in there really, really hard. The car gets a little loose, starts to wiggle, and around goes Busch.
Now watch from the right side of your screen. I think Casey Kane got a tap. He's already around.
Look at Trevor Bayne. What a great job he did of missing it. Everybody really back in that pack did a great job of missing the car of Casey Kane. But watch this thing. It just starts to wiggle. Little wiggle, Larry.
And then up the racetrack it goes.
You know who did that to Montoya last year here?
His teammate, McMurray,
right.
in the one.
He wasn't that lucky last year. Got away with the day.
Hard to hold on to at 194 miles an hour.
Whoa. Amazing nobody has damage.
I think it was David Reagan, the 6. Yes, got into the back of
Watch Bayne right here.
Whoa.
How did he not hit him? The reflexes of a 20-year-old. That's how.
Easy. Stay right where you are. Stay right where you are. Come on. That-a-way, buddy. That-a-way.
Dick Berggren.
Well, the biggest problem Kurt Busch has had all weekend long, Mike, has been getting through the bumps. This racetrack has simply gotten bumpier over time. The bumps are in the corner. That's where he lost it. Steve.
Dick, listening to Casey Kane, he's hot right now. He's been battling a very loose race car, and just as he said it started to get good, he got hit from behind by David Reagan in the 6. He thinks he has some right front splitter damage, but they changed 4 tires. He's back on the track.
You heard what the spotter was saying to David Reagan. Stay low, keep coming. He wanted to get past the incident. Casey Kane, though, was right in front of him. Jimmy Johnson won the free pass, and you can win his Camaro. Win a Legend and meet 1-2 to win a new Camaro SS and a chance to meet Jimmy Johnson. Visit winyourchevy.com now. Let's take a look inside what's happening now in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint and HTC Evo 4G. Kurt Busch explains how that spin happened.
He just painted us down there?
Yeah, it was all my fault. Drove in deep, grabbed a little brake, had rear brake just dialed into it. He was on top of us. It was a perfect storm for a spin. I should have known better.
Fuel your inner NASCAR fan with the new HTC Evo 4G only from Sprint at sprint.com/speed.
Perfect scenario for a bad result.
Back under green at lap 106. Tony Stewart in front of Carl Edwards, Greg Biffle, Montoya, and Jeff Gordon.
What I saw on that restart is Carl Edwards in the 99. He tried to anticipate the start by Tony Stewart. Tony didn't go. Then Carl in the 99 had to get back out of the throttle.
Trevor Bayne on the inside after a narrow miss on that last caution. Brad Keselowski with him. Bobby Labonte to the outside. How about a NASCAR on Fox? Crank it up at lap 107. Car in the wall, turn 1, Jamie Mack. Bounces off, keeps going.
21 actually put him up there.
And Kyle Busch is aflame down the back straightaway.
All right, caution down.
That car just caught fire.
Into the wall, guys.
Yeah, it's coming out of the rear of it, looks like.
Still coming, still coming. Caution's out.
He's looking for pit road, but there are still cars coming. And the cockpit must be filled with smoke as well. Kyle had just gotten back on the lead lap. Ooh, that's coming out the tailpipes.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Straight to the garage. And what you can't see, there he is, the 21 car. He gets loose. He and McMurray go up. McMurray makes slight contact with the wall, but not anything serious.
Clear behind the 48.
And right there, Kyle Busch's car blows up.
Just explodes.
Watch it here, the 18. All right, caution's out.
See right there, the one car makes a slight bit of contact. I don't think it hurt anything. And then right ahead of them, that 18 just detonated.
And remember, came in here as our points leader. Darrell, you guys asked him and Kurt in the pre-race, could they leave here 1 and 2 in the points? Don't think it'll happen today.
Not today. They've been exciting though. One's spun out, one's blown up.
3, outside of 2, outside of 2, outside of 3, blowing up in front of you, blowing up in front of you, slow on the high side, slow on the high side.
Kyle Busch, who so wanted to win his hometown race for the second time, has climbed out of his Toyota. Under caution, Tony Stewart leading. Greg Biffle, Carl Edwards, Montoya, and Harvick.
Tony Stewart leading 86 laps, and in front of Greg Biffle. Time for an AT&T race break. It's NASCAR on Fox from Las Vegas, and when you're in Las Vegas, it's about the Busch brothers, and Kyle and Kurt came in first and second in points. A busy day. Kyle having problems with his tire early.
No warning, no vibration, no nothing. It just went down.
He got back in it. Meanwhile, Kurt on the lap 102 has some problems, had a little nudge, brought out a caution flag. And then back to Kyle on lap 108. You see the flames, and he was describing what it felt like inside. And took the car into the garage. Our Krista Voda is with Kyle Busch. Krista?
Thanks, Chris. Kyle just exiting his hauler, and you said there was no warning on the tire. I imagine there wasn't any warning on this either. What happened?
No, there wasn't. Just, man, it's really unfortunate. We had a great race car. That Snickers Peanut Butter Squared Camry was fast today, and we chased down Stewart there, and unfortunately the air is so sensitive today that you get within like a five car length cushion and you just can't close anymore. I kind of got stuck behind him through traffic and stuff, but the car was running awesome before that, and then unfortunately we had the tire go down there, got us a little bit behind, and the guys did a great job changing tires. Dave, we got out and we were the lucky dog, fortunately, lucky us. And then we on the restart there, just going to bide the time and try to get back through traffic. Still plenty of time to go, and kablooey, it just broke. So I really hate it for these guys. They work real hard, and hopefully the 20 and the 11 don't have any problems today.
Kyle, I know you're always frustrated when you have to leave a racetrack early, especially when you have such a strong car. Does it make any more difference the fact that it is Las Vegas?
No, it's it wouldn't be any different if it was any other race. You know, fortunately it's early enough in the year that we can still bounce back and rebound and get ourselves in contention and solidly in a chase before we get to race number 26.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you, Krista and Kyle. He referred to his teammates, and you have Denny Hamlin 19th, Logano running 10th, the Joe Gibbs cars. What's the issue?
Well, let's roll back the hands the last week. The 20 car had an engine problem at Phoenix, and more importantly, his teammate Denny Hamlin, he had an issue at the start of the race. They had something going on with the rocker arm or whatever, so they elected to change an engine, went to the back of the field. So to me, all of a sudden, maybe there's something going on here, a common denominator that Gibbs Racing is having engine problems, and I think that's exactly what Kyle was referring to.
All right, we'll take a look at today's current standings for the fastest pit crew award and how the fans so far have voted on this as you take a look. And you can get in on the action by testing the car number to the crew that you think will spend the least amount of time on pit road. AT&T, the nation's fastest mobile broadband network. We've had 12 lead changes, 9 different leaders, and our 5th caution of the race. Meanwhile, here's Kyle in the car.
It's blowed up, guys. There's flames in my face. Load it up. Let's go to the house.
Here's your Ford F-150 EcoBoost track facts. Matt Kenseth broke the track record in qualifying. Ford has the most wins here at Las Vegas with 6, and 6 types of racing on 4 different tracks here. The Speedway, the Bull Ring, the Dirt Oval, and the drag strip. Now, Greg Biffle will restart in 2nd place, but when he pitted at lap 98, they came out 3rd, and Greg was not pleased.
We got to refigure that fuel opening, guys. As long as I can wait, Greg. That's as long as I can wait, buddy. We got to get a better fuel can. We got to get a better fuel can. This ain't going to work all year long. Getting beat because we're waiting on gas. Nobody else is, and we're not. We got to figure it out, guys.
Well, there's the change for this year. There is the pit of Greg Biffle, and it's the nozzle that's under that cover that is one of the differences in fueling these cars this year with a self-venting can.
You know, that's kind of out of character for Greg Biffle, I think. I mean, he's a fiery guy, and he you know, he's not like a quiet or shy or anything, but I never see him call. I don't remember calling his team out like that in the past.
But this is something that these teams were fearing all during the off season, is the fueling process with this new can. And Jeff, you went down this road in the pre-race show, and I think this is the trials and tribulations of this new can and teams searching what they need to do and how they need to do it.
Yeah, Larry, some of the teams have experienced the problem with the car venting even out of the fuel cell area back up into the can itself. And you know, it's not the first time I've heard this, and a lot of teams right now have worked diligently to make sure that it does not have any kind of restrictions, whether you turn the vent line inside the trunk or what you necessarily have to do to make it work the best. And right now, I think the big problem is they don't have it figured out, and his car is taking fuel slower than anybody else.
Getting ready to go green in the Kobalt Tools 400, 115 of 267 laps complete. It'll be Tony Stewart, Biffle, Carl Edwards, Montoya, and Harvick. The front 5 were green.
Might just remember, out on the track you can make up hundreds. In the pits you can lose seconds. That's huge when you get back on the racetrack.
And we saw that earlier in that pit stop summary between Kyle Busch and Greg Biffle. 3 seconds difference in their pit stop alone.
Kyle Busch in the garage along with Regan Smith, J.J. Yaley, Michael McDowell, Joe Nemechek, and Landon Castle. Tony Stewart looking like he is putting on a clinic for the rest of the drivers here.
Boy, I'll tell you what, he has got the bar set high, and nobody is able to reach up there to it yet.
One driver who had a very good pit stop after starting 31st, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is up to 12th.
You guys done pretty good on pit road today, man. We really, gained all these spots on the track, so we appreciate it. Yeah, working up pretty good.
Remember last week at Phoenix, they had the issue with the loose wheel And then they also had the issue of speeding on pit road. So a combination of problems on pit road last week at Phoenix.
These Hendrick cars, I've been told that they're all working with different setups, but they're really looking for a setup that will be good over the long haul. And I don't know which one Jimmy Johnson has, but he looks like he's got his hands full.
Been a tough day for Jimmy Johnson, who is on the lead lap in 17th.
Looking at David Rudiman in that 00 car right in front of him. Remember, it wasn't that many laps ago. David Rudiman got caught on pit road under a green flag stop at the caution, took the wave around. Now he's fighting his way back toward the top 10.
Five-time champ Jimmy Johnson in amongst them right there in 17th, Matt.
Mike, 2 stops ago, Chad Canals called an audible. He had planned to make wholesale changes on that 48 car, but then opted to try to get track position to get the free pass. So they made no changes, but they made those changes on the last stop, trying to get better balance for that 48 machine. He just can't get it to be consistent from one end of the corner to the other, loose and tight.
That just goes to show you how much our sport changes. He's won 4 of the last 6 races here as Carl Edwards in that 99 just drove by his teammate Greg Biffle.
Dick?
I want to make clear that the problems Greg Biffle is having on pit road with fueling does not have anything at all to do with Billy Manchester, who is his fuel man. Manchester has been working on this thing literally since Homestead, working out, lifting weights, practicing. But they haven't got it right, and on that last stop, it's likely they did not get Greg Biffle's fuel tank full.
Well, it's a combination of people and equipment. The new fueling probe and receptacle are very different from the one we used to have. And the question of whether or not there's air coming up that vent tube, and is that enough to tell you you've got it full?
That's the big question with these guys, especially at a racetrack where you're going to get long green runs and you're going to have green flag pit stops, is knowing if the car is full.
You know how many people it takes for it to fix everybody's problem? It takes one team. One team gets it right, it trickles down to everybody else.
Right. Trevor Bayne a lap down in the 21. He is in 26th. Clint Boyer is a lead lap car in 22nd. And Matt Kenseth, the pole sitter, working on recovering from going a lap down. He's still 1 lap down, but if he can get past the next car in front of him, Bobby Labonte, he would be in position to get the free pass on the next caution. Right now, the 47 of Labonte is the free pass car.
See, one thing, one of the strong suits that Matt Kenseth has, he's a very patient guy. He will not force it to get that lap back right now.
Now, Kevin Harvick restarted 5th and slipped 1 spot to Martin Truex. Steve, he's now 6th.
Mike, he has not been a player in this race yet, but important to note, he pitted on lap 98. He told the crew chief, Gil Martin, I'm a little loose, but don't touch it. So all they did was put tires on it. They think the track's coming to him.
And every year we have a surprise, and so far the early surprise has been Kevin Harvick's teammate, that lime green yellow car we're looking at right there. Paul Menard in that 27 car started 18th, sitting there in the top 10 again. One of those guys I talked about at the top of the show, looking for that first win.
Steve?
And Mike, a little bit of concern in that 27 pit of Paul Menard. He told crew chief Slugger Labby that he may have an alternator problem, so they're just keeping an eye on it right now, Paul Menard is.
Well, he can help that a lot, as we well know. He can turn off some blowers in his cool box to his helmet. There's a lot of things you can do to milk that along. This far into the race, he probably could run the rest of the way on the battery.
Menard had slipped back a bit after the start. That car's woken up. He's up in 7th. But Tony Stewart is the man of the hour, 1.3 seconds ahead of Carl Edwards. Don't tell me race car drivers don't have a sense of humor. During the caution flag, Bob Osborne, Carl's crew chief, tells Carl on the radio, I got to go away for a minute. I'll be right back. He knew they weren't going to pit, so that Bob had plenty of time to go and walk the 50 feet back to the fence and take care of what he had to take care of. And Carl waited about that length of time, plus 20 seconds more, hits the key on the radio and goes, I'm coming in. I got to come in. I got to pit. Bob had to scramble and get back to the box. Carl stayed out.
I'm a little jealous, though, of Bob Osborne. His walk is a lot shorter than the walk we have to make.
Right.
saw an animated Bob Osborne last week at Phoenix when they went out. And you don't see Bob lose self-control very often, but he was hot last week.
1.4 seconds. The 31 was Carl Edwards' last lap. 30.31 seconds. Tony Stewart running 30.20. And here's Junior in 8th place, chasing Paul Menard for 7th.
Was so much faster picking the throttle up than that 27 car that time in 3 and 4.
88 car looks pretty good right now there. He can run the bottom in the gas. You just saw that. He makes the pass around Paul Menard there. That car is stuck to the bottom and looking pretty good.
Actually, Darrell, compared to Friday, it looks great, because when we did the opening round of practice on speed, Dale Jr. was not happy with his car over those bumps in turn 1. Dick?
Well, throughout practice, Mike, Junior has simply been slow. The car felt good to him, but it just didn't have any speed. And this morning when I talked to crew chief Steve Letarte, he said he really didn't expect much out of the team, although they had made some adjustments in the car. But Junior has gone from 33rd starting position all the way up to 7th spot, and is telling the crew that the car is good. They fixed it. They got it for Junior.
Well, that's kind of backs up what I was saying to Dick earlier. They've given up some speed to get a car that's a lot more consistent over the long run in the race. All of them have, but it pays off about halfway through the race.
But just remember, with the driver swap that Hendrick Motorsports did over the offseason, this is Jeff Gordon's team from last year. A year ago, Jeff Gordon with Steve Letarte led 219 of the 267 laps in this race.
Well, we have a change at the free pass spot, but it was not Matt Kenseth passing Bobby Labonte. It was the young man from Knoxville, Trevor Bayne, in the 21, who is now in position to get his lap back.
He's found a really nice groove up high, and he went around Matt Kenseth on the high side, and here he goes around Casey Kane. He's found a really nice groove up high.
This morning, about half hour before drivers' meeting, not too many drivers to be found down in the garage area hanging out, but there was Trevor, standing out behind the Wood Brothers hauler, taking pictures and signing autographs for anybody who would come by. That's old school. I like that.
Such a 20-year-old man. 20-year-old and old school. Do they go together?
A lot of poise there. Krista.
Mike, he continues to milk the laurels of winning the Daytona 500. Last night, he was called up on stage at the Jabberwocky show. I said, now what exactly is that? He said, well, it's like an audio-visual story where they combine audio and music. I said, did you have to sing? He said, no, but I did have to show some dance moves.
Yeah, they had him breakdancing on stage. I'm told one of the visitors to his hauler this morning was Marie Osmond. And some of the Ultimate Fighting fellas, Metal Militia. I mean, wow, whole new demographic following this young fella. Monday, he had a whole day to himself in his hometown of Knoxville, Tennessee, key to the city, a day named in his honor. Lots of accolades from fans and friends, and even the high school choir that he used to sing with. Oh, and he got a street named for him, too. I wonder what the speed limit is. Got a Volunteers jersey with his number. And you see the Wood Brothers down in the garage. They are still beaming from that Daytona 500.
I heard that he was having a pair of gloves made that he could race in, so he didn't have to take his ring off. Because that thing is huge, like a Super Bowl ring. He had to give him a bigger pair of gloves.
Prior to the speeding penalty, he was in 14th position, trying to work his way back there now. Tony Stewart is 2 seconds ahead of Carl Edwards. Just past halfway. There's the Speedway, and there's the Las Vegas Desert. The Air Force Base, Nellis Air Base, off in the distance, and the Las Vegas Strip far to the south. Not as far to the south as Carl Edwards was from Tony Stewart, your leader in the 14. Edwards has dropped the gap down to 1.5 seconds. There's his gold color 99 trying to close.
One thing about it, though, we're about probably 4 to 6 laps away from what will be green flag pit stops.
Yeah. There's your third place driver, Greg Biffle. A Chevy and 2 Fords out front. Biffle is 3.3 seconds off the lead. One Paulo Montoya. And then number 42, 4.1 seconds back. And the new 5th place driver will be Kevin Harvick. He has passed Martin Truex Jr. and runs 6.2 seconds from the lead.
Look at there how far he started, 26 up to 5th. That's a nice race so far.
So Truex, who started 9th, gives up a spot and falls to 6th place. Steve?
Mike, the reason is Martin just told Pat Tryson that his car has gotten a little bit too tight. When they stop, they're going to take a little bit of air pressure out of the right front tire.
Well, and as we mentioned, they should be on pit road within the next 4 or 5 laps. Everyone should be there for green flag stops.
Up to 7th, Dale Earnhardt Jr. after starting 31st. And a car that he couldn't drive through the bumps in turn 1 and 2. Now navigating that end of the racetrack very well. Problem for Greg Biffle.
Back coast, guys. Middle of the back coast into 3.
Second place car drops down off the banking and coasts toward pit road.
Greg, you need to sit. You need to sit until you got 7 to 8 pounds steady on the needle. Too early, we're going to run out down pit road.
Dick, did he run out of gas?
Greg Biffle is out of gas.
Go back to a while ago. Greg Biffle was arguing with Greg Irwin about, I can't sit here this long. Well, the reason Greg Irwin was holding him is to make sure the car was full of fuel.
Yeah, but what Greg's upset about is you held me that long, you still didn't get it full of fuel.
Now there's the stop, and there is the fuel probe and receptacle that is so crucial. Now in the vent tube, you see all gas there. They got most of that can in. The 2 cans combined hold more gasoline than the fuel cell does. So that's Sunoco dribbling in. There's the air gurgling up, and that should indicate the car's full. Dick.
The car has stalled twice, Mike. It is running again, though, and it appears as if they've got it full. Struggling getting that engine to run and stay running. What a heartbreak for Biffle, who had a shot to win this thing. Fuel mileage really has hurt him.
Is it fuel mileage, or is it how much fuel he had in the tank to burn off?
I think in the conversation we heard earlier between Greg Irwin and Greg Biffle, I don't think the car was full.
I think that's what Greg really knew after that pit stop, Larry, was they didn't get it full of fuel, and that's really what had him upset, I think.
So another potential winning race car here and team have found trouble. First Kyle Busch, who is out of the race with the blown engine, and now Greg Biffle. Car in the wall, turn 2. A hard hit for David Gilliland, who I believe cut down a right front tire.
Terrible timing for what just happened to Greg Biffle. And in fact,
Gilliland's got the wall a little bit there. I'll clear up the back. Watch for debris. He's on fire at the end of the back stretch.
Marcus Ambrose in the 9 had committed to pit road, but was able to get back out before the commit cone.
That car came from the middle of the racetrack hard into the safer barrier near the exit of turn 2.
It blew a right front.
And it didn't give no sign of any tire issues at all. Nothing.
6th caution flag of the day at lap 150. And the Riverside, California driver who spent a day this week out in the desert dune buggying climbs out after a very vicious hit.
Sitting 10th of the points, had the great run in the Daytona 500 a couple of weeks ago.
Watch this thing back here, Larry. He's down on the bottom of the track, and right back here you'll see him. Bam! Man, that's a hard lick. Good thing the safer barriers there. That's the worst. I can't tell you what that feels like when you know that when that tire goes, it's like somebody hits you in the stomach with a baseball bat.
David, 2nd generation driver, his dad Butch, a standout in the old Winston West series. Out here, gives a wave to the folks in the campers, and will take the ride to be checked out at the infield care center.
Yeah, David played golf in high school with Tiger Woods.
Well, it's Trevor Bayne Day again this week. He is the recipient of the free pass on this, the 6th caution flag of the day. All right, pit road is open. Tony Stewart leads them down. The first to hit their pit will be that 99 of Carl Edwards. Matt.
And Carl Edwards says, I know that the sun has been going in and out, but it seems like the track has been picking up grip. They put tape on the grill 2 stops ago. It helped the balance. He wants more tape this time. That's the only adjustment, Dick.
Well, Tony Stewart's had a good day. Everybody thought the Fords were going to dominate today. Tony Stewart drives a Chevrolet. He's been up front for most of the day. Steve.
Dick, for the second stop in a row, there will be no changes to Kevin Harvick's Chevrolet. 4 tires of fuel, but no adjustments. He really likes the way that car is handling right now. Krista.
Eric Wallace had the wrench ready to make a track bar adjustment. They called an audible wedge instead for Marcus Ambrose and 4 tires. He said, I didn't like that track bar last time we changed it, so Todd Parrott made the call.
There's the race off pit road. Kevin Harvick and Martin Truex each gaining a spot. Brian Vickers picks up 3 up into the top 10. And that was almost a roll away. Almost. We're under caution in Las Vegas with 116 laps to go.
Tony Stewart leads Carl Edwards and Kevin Harvick in Las Vegas in time for an AT&T race break. In fact, Harvick just penalized for exiting too fast on pit road. A quick recap if you're just joining us, and for the favorites, it's been a rough ride here in Las Vegas. Matt Kenseth, who was on the pole, lap 15, cuts a tire, actually has to go a lap down. Tony Stewart takes the lead. He has secured now leading the most laps in this race and is currently our leader. Kyle Busch, Las Vegas' own, with a tire problem early, but had worked his way back. And his brother Kurt, who has finished second here twice in his career, involved in a wreck after David Reagan got into the back of him. Casey Kane also involved, and then Kyle Busch with an engine problem having to go to the garage and currently is still out of the race. So we've had 10 leaders, 14 lead changes, 6 cautions, but Tony Stewart with 128 laps led is dominating this race. Moments ago, Greg Biffle, Ford, had the top 4 spots. Jeff Hammond, as we welcome you inside the Hollywood Hotel, the top 4 spots belonging to Ford. Greg Biffle, a good car, but we've chronicled the gas or fuel problems, whether it's with the team or at least getting the fuel in the car and understanding how much you have.
Yeah, he runs out of fuel and he comes down, can't get the car to refire. He winds up going 2 laps down, but fortunately for him, the caution that just came out is going to allow him possibly to go get the wave around, get one of those laps back, put himself back in contention. But they definitely have a serious problem here, and that's hurting him. Like a lot of other teams that we talked about, the 29 car, getting caught was penalized, as well as the 31, his teammate got penalized.
And Tony Stewart penalized here moments ago on the pit stop.
Here on pit road, did you see that air hose, right? That yellow air hose back here close to the gas man at the back of the car? You see it moving as it starts to come off of pit road. All of a sudden, it's hung, and that's one of the things you can't have happen. All the team members trying to grab it. You cannot take equipment. Looks like he took the air wrench out of the pit box. That will cost him a penalty. He'll have to come down, and like I said, a lot of problems on pit road. The 29 car speeding, 31 car speeding. Tony doing this. It's getting ready.
Is that a driver error or communication from a crew chief?
That right there is a problem of one of the pit crew members themselves. That's not supposed to happen.
And those are the pit penalties you talk. Now, this is the most we've seen of any of the races so far this year. We talk about aggressive driving. Is that contributing to this, or is this just the stress of the moment?
Darrell Waltrip summed it up the best I've heard in a long time. You can lose tenths of a second, hundredths of a second on the racetrack. You can lose seconds on pit road. And these guys are trying to make it up. And because of that, they're making some mistakes, and it's costing these drivers, dearly.
Meanwhile, Dale Earnhardt Jr. up to 6th, but Jimmy Johnson has not been inside the top 10. We've been following Chad Knaus and that crew with Jimmy, who's won here 4 times. The reigning champion. They've been making adjustments, but they haven't been able to crack the top 10.
No, they have had to work on this car since the drop of the green flag. I mean, it's just been one of those days for that team. As we see right now, our former leader, Tony Stewart, having to do his pass-through penalty for taking equipment away from the pit area like he's supposed to do.
Let's go on to Greg Biffle. We talked about the fuel problems. Let's listen to what he had to say with his radio communication.
Nice one, guys. Nice one. Guess we got to work on our fuel deal a little bit, huh? Everybody's speeding us off pit road, and we're not getting it full. That's nice.
Greg Biffle did lead 11 laps in this race and had a car capable of winning this race.
You know, I've been on the receiving end of that right there. I know exactly what kind of sarcasm he's receiving right now from the driver as the crew chief, but it frustrates when the driver drives basically his guts out to try to get up there in the front, and you have a problem like this, keeps you from staying there.
Sometimes sarcasm helps you get the message.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at today's current standings for the fastest pit crew and how the fans have voted so far. And AT&T customers, you can find out the final race standings as soon as the checkered flag drops by texting your fastest pit crew choice and replying OK when prompted to receive exclusive updates. AT&T, the nation's fastest mobile broadband network. And with the way Tony Stewart's going, Mike, Darrell, and Larry, unless there's a mistake or more mistakes, he might get back to the top of things with Carl Edwards maybe on a roll.
Well, keep in mind at Homestead last year, Chris, Kevin Harvick had a speeding penalty but came back, finished third, and we got a long way to go. 112 laps. There is Harvick. He's served his penalty. So has Tony. Carl Edwards will lead them down to green ahead of Martin Truex. Montoya, Earnhardt, and Menard are your front five as we go back to green at lap 268.
Pretty impressed with that 56 car finding his way to the front. He's been right there in the top 5 or 6. It's pretty good.
Car that got a great run off turn 2. Brian Vickers in that 83 car. He's up there in the top 10 now.
That group right behind Earnhardt, right behind the front 4 as we get ready to crank it up for you with 110 laps to go. Carl Edwards leading by 1 second over Martin Truex, Montoya, Earnhardt, and Menard. Then it's Logano, Ambrose, and Vickers, and last week's winner, Jeff Gordon.
Speaking of Jeff Gordon, right behind him is the driver that got the free pass 50 laps ago, Jimmy Johnson, 05 time in that 48 car, sitting there in the top 10 now.
Well, if this works out like it was explained to me, these cars should come to the front now. Halfway into the races when the 48, the 24, 88, 5 all should come to the front.
About like they did at Phoenix.
Similar.
Look at Kevin Harvick, the 29, and Tony Stewart, the 14, and Greg Biffle all had difficulties on this round of pit stops or penalties, and they're trying to fight their way back to the front.
I like that 21 car, though. He has found a really nice groove up high, and he is sailing around these guys.
You're riding with Trevor Bayne, looking at Harvick and Stewart. Next Sunday, a new look at the Daytona 500 just a couple of weeks ago, and you'll hear commentary from Trevor Bayne, Carl Andrews, Jeff Gordon, and more, and never before seen footage. Daytona 500, the American Dream, next Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern, only on Fox.
And you know what I like about Trevor right there? He had 2 guys, Kevin Harvick and Tony Stewart. He knows they're aggressive drivers and they're fast. He's going to fall in there and follow those 2.
Teammates battling as Jimmy Johnson gets underneath and past Jeff Gordon. Now, David Gilliland had that hard hit into the turn 2 wall, went to the care center. Now Krista is with him.
Yeah, Mike, and we know he's okay because he gave a wave to the crowd, but you guys have really been on a roll. What kind of hit does this put in your momentum?
It's tough. We were running good today. We had a good car, and we learned a lot about the mile-and-a-half stuff with a new nose and stuff. So we're going to come out of it, and still take out of here as a positive and rebuild our Taco Bell Ford Fusion and take it to Bristol. So I'm really excited about going there. I feel like we ran really well there last year, and feel like we're not going to let this get us down.
Thanks, David.
It was a hard hit.
Yes. Tony Stewart has passed Harvick, the 14 in front of the 29. Jeff Burton trying to run with them. Trevor Bayne and Jamie Mack are in the midst of that scrum from 20th place on back.
Again, I just want to brag on Trevor. I'm pretty sure he has a cars equal to the ones he's around, but he let those guys get by him because he felt like there was more action there than he wanted to be involved in.
Quite honestly, that's what impressed me as much in the Daytona 500. Whenever he smelled trouble brewing, he kind of gave himself just a little bit of room.
Carl Edwards now leading Martin Truex by 1.8 seconds, Matt.
And Carl is concerned about the 14 of Tony Stewart. He just asked his spotter Jason Hedleski, what is Stewart's line down in 1 and 2 and 3 and 4? And Jason told him he's running near the bottom, similar to your line. He asked Bob Osborne, our lap times, what are they like? Osborne said they pretty much mirror each other at this point. The only concern really that Carl has had besides that, and DW, I'm sure you've experienced this in the past, this is a brand new race car. Under compression in the seat, his vision is impaired a little bit on the right side due to the headrest. When he sat in the car in the shop, it was perfect. But under compression, hunkered down a little bit more in the seat, his vision's a little bit impaired.
Yeah, tell him like my crew chief used to tell me. I can't do a whole lot about that right now. You're just going to have to deal with it.
21 cars on the lead lap. 100 laps to go in the Nevada desert. Carl Edwards, your leader. Carl Edwards, 2.5 seconds up on Martin Truex. Juan Pablo Montoya 3.7 back, then Dale Jr. and Paul Menard. Ford, Toyota, and 3 Chevys in the top 5.
Yeah, there's some guys up there. I mean, you look at Menard running 5th. Logano got up there to 6th. Now Ambrose is running 7th. Vickers, some guys that are working their way, up toward the front.
Larry, nice rebound for Joey Logano after some tough sledding last week in Phoenix.
Well, tough sledding at Daytona and at Phoenix.
Yes.
He got caught up in the wreck in the Daytona 500 and then had the engine problem at Phoenix. Something he just needs to do. Darrell touched on this when we were doing practice and qualifying on Friday. This is a driver just finish the race. Be there at the end.
He's in position right now to gain 9 positions in the Sprint Cup standings. And Kurt Busch, after an early spin, has come back up to 14th place in the 22.
Well, Mike, what happens to this racetrack is as it rubbers up, as the guys say, your car is going to change. Maybe you were terribly bad loose like he was in the beginning, but when the track tightens up, the car becomes around for you.
Just to set up the remaining 89 laps of this race, the trends say that we normally have a late race caution that bunches everyone up. Now, all the leaders pitted on lap 151, which is 116 laps to go. Everyone will have to make at least 2 more pit stops. In fact, our next round of green flag stops is somewhere around 20 laps away.
But, Mike, back to your point about the 22 car. Remember what the crew chief, he's got to convince that driver that this car is going to come around at the right time. And you got to hang on to it till it does.
Let's check back in on your Pizza Hut fan favorite driver today. You voted for Jeff Gordon, and last week's winner in Phoenix is in 10th place, running 10.5 seconds off of Carl Edwards' lead, and Jeff's laps have been within 0.2 of a second of the race leader. Running 1 spot behind teammate Jimmy Johnson, both of them still in contention.
And I've kind of been keeping an eye on Tony Stewart because we know how fast he was, but he sort of stalled out a little bit back there in the 17th spot. How's the 24 doing, Matt?
DW, you were talking a few moments ago just about how this racetrack changes. That's exactly what Jeff Gordon has been saying. He says all of a sudden now we are great down in turns 3 and 4, and it's absolutely plowing. Just will not turn down in 1 and 2.
And that's why you start out so loose you can barely hang on to it like the 22 was, because guys that have been here a lot, raced here a lot, they know this track will tighten up before the day's over with.
2 weeks from today, NASCAR on Fox rolls into Thunder Valley. We'll be in Bristol, Tennessee, on the in the Roman Coliseum of racing.
That's what you love about our sport. Is, you know, a football field, every one of them is 100 yards. The distance between bases is 90 feet. Our first 4 races, a 2.5-mile track, a 1-mile track, today at a 1.5 miles, and then short track racing in 2 weeks on a 1/2 mile.
Can't wait. Martin Truex 2.5 seconds off the lead. Here's Steve.
Mike, interesting radio chatter. Martin Truex Jr. telling Pat Bryson the car's running the same everywhere I go, so he's moving his line a little bit. Spotter Keith Barnwell telling Martin Truex where the fast cars behind him are running.
.84 laps to go. 2 pit stops in the offense. Stick around. 79 laps to go. The man from Missouri, Carl Edwards, on point. New Jersey's Martin Truex. From Bogota, Colombia, Juan Montoya. From Kannapolis, North Carolina, Dale Earnhardt Jr. The Tasmanian, Marcus Ambrose. Wisconsin's Paul Menard. And Connecticut's Joey Logano. You're all over the map with this one.
Yes, we are.
Now, Las Vegas's Kyle Busch did not fare so well. Engine failure has put him out of the race. Joining this group behind the wall, David Gilliland crashed. Regan Smith, engine trouble. The rest of the drivers pulled in early. Marcus Ambrose has worked his way back up into the top 5 after starting second. Krista?
Well, Mike, earlier in this race, I said Marcus described himself as stubborn. You said he's single-minded. Right now, he's really stoked because this run started with his car being the best it has been all day. It's starting to get just a little bit tight right now.
He's been fast ever since we unloaded here on Friday. Remember, started on the outside of the front row with this 9 car.
Brian Vickers is in the top 10. Probably the most heated driver after last week's race at Phoenix. Thought he'd been run into. The video showed otherwise. It was just a slight brush of contact, but it cut down his tire, caused him to crash. And here's a fellow who was out due to illness all last year, had surgery to repair a hole in his heart. He's back on the mend. He's ready to go. Got doctor clearance. He's ready to win.
He wants to win. He wants to log some laps, too. At Daytona, remember, he was on the racetrack every time a track opened up, and he stayed there until it closed. This guy just wants to get back in the swing of things.
In most sessions, he's run the most laps of practice.
And he said in that recovery, when it was out of his hands, it was not that tough, as we see Greg Biffle on pit road making sure they get full of fuel. Let's go on down to Dick real quick.
Well, Biffle's going to come in, and fuel, of course, will be the issue, as it has been all day on that car. They have simply struggled trying to get it in. All the practice simply has not made any difference at all today. First can is in. So far, so good. There you go. He got it in.
That is just a long, long stop for Greg Biffle, 17.3 seconds.
Biffle is one of 2 contenders who have fallen off the lead lap. The other was pole sitter Matt Kenseth, who also had the fastest laps in final practice. And they are both teammates of our race leader.
Trouble down here. Jeff Gordon in the wall. Turn 4.
Hard crash. Turn 4.
He just, I think he blew a right front tire. It looked like it just.
Yeah, man. It's going to be harder than that. He come down now, too.
That is the 3rd or 4th driver to have a hard hit into the wall after perhaps cutting down a right front tire.
And he said something that drivers have said to me over and over again. These safer barriers, when we hit them, it just doesn't feel that bad. I cannot get over that every time something like that happens.
Well, if his car could talk, wouldn't be singing the same tune.
No, it'll be saying ouchie.
See him coming into the screen right there. Cars just go straight.
Dadgummit, it's right in the middle of the corner. Hard lick.
But Darrell, Mike pointed it out. It's about the third or fourth right front tire that we have failed here. The right front tire at these speeds here, they never get a rest.
Yeah, and if you have any kind of camber issue, a little too much camber in that right front, it's riding on the edge, you're going to have some failures.
And most of the failures have been just before we were going to make green flag pit stops.
Yep.
Tough break for your Pizza Hut fan favorite, the driver you wanted to keep track of today. As Jeff Gordon from Winner, he'll join Kyle Busch in the garage area along with David Gilliland, Regan Smith, J.J. Yaley, Michael McDowell, Joe Nemechek, Landon Castle. The cars out of the race.
A bit of a pattern if you think about Trevor Bayne at Phoenix. Came off that big win at Daytona, had a lot of trouble, wrecked at Phoenix. Come in here with Jeff Gordon, winner of Phoenix, wrecked today.
Hang on, 67 laps to go. Tony Stewart is your leader. Carl Edwards currently running fourth. We haven't had the big wreck today, but there have been a lot of tire problems, a lot of pit problems in time for an AT&T race break to bring you up to date with what's going on. The Busch brothers, the story in their hometown. They came in 1-2 in points, and Kurt Busch having some problems here. But he has worked his way back into contention on lap 108. Kyle Busch, after having a tire problem early, blows an engine and is done for the day. Greg Biffle, one of the Fords that started up front, had fuel problems. Mileage may vary. That was the issue. Tony Stewart in the pits penalized for the air hose staying intact. That brought him way down. And then Jeff Gordon, trying to win back-to-back, running 10th, blows a tire, and Jeff Gordon done for the day. But Tony Stewart has reworked his way back to the front of the pack.
Well, what they've done, just like last week, Darian Grubb elects to go with just 2 tires on the right side, gets his guy back up front. But Chris, we're waiting to see right now. It may be Vegas. He may be willing to take a gamble here, but it may come back to haunt him.
Take a look at the current standings for the fastest pit crew and how the fans have voted so far. AT&T customers, you can find the standings as the checkered flag drops by texting your crew choice and replying OK. AT&T, the nation's fastest mobile broadband network. Let's check in with Chris Devona, who is with Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. We know Vegas is a town of gambling. We've seen a lot of right front issues today, maybe right before these green flag stops are happening. Was there anything you could have done to know that was going to happen?
No, there's no sign whatsoever. We need to free the car up. You know, we've been trying all day long to get it freed up. Nothing we're doing seems to be helping. It just seems like we keep getting tighter and tighter as the day went on. Day started out pretty good for the DuPont Chevrolet. You know, we were up towards the front and better than I thought we were going to be based on yesterday's practice. So I was proud of Alan and the guys. But we started, losing the handling on it there those last couple runs, and that put us back where we were. And no sign, just drove in turn 3 and hit the wall. I'm glad I had a safer barrier to hit and a safe race car.
Gordon's had hard hits here at Vegas before. Mike?
Thanks, Krista. 5 drivers took the free pass. Biffle, Blaney, Robbie Gordon, Lally, and Mears each got a lap back, did not make a pit stop. Well, this 2-tire thing, we'll see how this works out. Remember last year, Jeff Gordon led the most laps, but after taking just 2 tires with 30 laps to go, finished 3rd.
Listen, we're in Las Vegas, man. You got to roll the dice. You got to gamble a little bit. I like it.
Ready for the restart. Green flag. Tony Stewart, Montoya, Edwards, Truex, and Earnhardt.
Think about Tony Stewart. I mean, Larry was running 14th. So, what has he got to lose? Worst he can do is end up 14th.
Well, and we've seen a driver that's leading this thing and doesn't have to deal with any traffic. Definitely can run faster than a driver stuck back in traffic. The long run, I think, might end up burning Tony Stewart.
I think he's not planning on having a long run. I think this is to get his track position back. He's probably hoping for a real quick caution here.
The most aggressive driver on these restarts has been Brian Vickers. For the 2nd time in the last 2 restarts, he's gone down to the inside, down to the apron to run him 3 wide and pick up positions. Vickers is up to 8th. There's his silver car on the inside of Joey Logano.
When you got a good car, you feel comfortable doing those kind of things. It's not that bad if you're in a very good car.
And look at Denny Hamlin. What a rebound for that team, which changed engines after yesterday's practice and started this race last.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin's team's been chipping away all day long. And look at the 3 wide with his teammate Joey Logano and the 20 on the outside. Out of bounds, there is no out of bounds. You can dip below the line there on the apron.
I'd suggest you just stay off the grass. Other than that, have at it.
Dale Jr. and Carl Edwards for 4th place.
He's been nibbling away. I'm telling you, that winless streaks, this could be the year to end a bunch of them. And that 88 car is looking really good.
Last time Jr. was the highest finishing Hendrick car last September at New Hampshire. He was 4th overall.
His 4th season with Hendrick Motorsports and only has 1 win at Michigan back in 2008.
Martin Truex runs that high line compared to his competition. Holds on to 3rd, but Junior's right there. Tony Stewart driving away, and here's Junior working over the back bumper of Truex.
Yeah, one thing I noticed about the 88 car, he has been glued to that white line. He has been right around the bottom of the racetrack really since the race started, and it's really working for him. Some guys make it work high. He's got it working low.
We asked him during practice yesterday, what have you done to make this car so much better? He said, I don't think I ought to tell you.
He's racing with his buddy right there. He and Martin Truex. Truex having a great day.
Martin Truex Jr. 1 career win. Came back at Dover all the way back in 2007.
That was 133 races ago for Truex.
And the guy behind him, he's trying to, all those guys trying to end those winless streaks.
It was our theme, an urgency to win.
Got to win, man. Got to. Forget the good points day.
Edwards moving on Earnhardt for 4th place. Never mind. Moving on Truex for 3rd.
moving.
While these guys are battling for 3rd, 4th, and 5th, Tony Stewart, that 14 car with only 2 fresh right side tires, he's got the field right now by about 2 to 3 tenths per lap.
And he's the fastest car on the racetrack. Now, what about his teammate who's moved up into the top 7, Ryan Newman? Steve?
Mike, they've done a great job chasing this racetrack. Early in this race, he said his car was way too loose. On that last run, it went from tight to loose, so they made a wedge adjustment on that last pit stop.
Yeah, he started 8th and dropped like a rock when the green flag fell. They've been chipping away back, getting this car back in contention.
There's the comeback story of the day. Denny Hamlin started dead last in the field. After that engine change, he had to go to the back and has marched his way up through slowly, methodically. Haven't heard a lot about him or from him on the team radio. Just working his way toward the front and perhaps back into championship contention.
Kind of Hamlin style. You know, he's not real flashy, but he gets the job done.
There is Tony Stewart, lonely man, and this blue car, Juan Pablo Montoya, the Colombian, is in 2nd place. Matt.
Searching his first NASCAR Cup win on an oval. 3 times he's finished 2nd. Now he was concerned whether they would have to stop again for fuel. He asked Brian Patty, one of the best poker players on top of the pit box, do we have to stop? Brian responded, yes, you are P2 on the restart. He goes, no. Do we have to stop for fuel? Am I short? He says, yes, between 5 and 10 laps. So right now they know they're going to have to stop again for a splash of fuel. He says it's going to have to be a very quick stop because they only need a few seconds. Right now they just feel like they have to bide their time and they'll be able to reel in Stewart, who's on much older tires.
And I feel like everyone is going to have to make at least one more pit stop, but we're right now 55 laps to go. We're getting in that window that if you do stop, you would be able to make it to the end should we have a caution.
However, as Matt just pointed out, the earlier you stop, the more fuel you're going to have to take and the longer your pit stop will be. So do you come or do you wait it out?
Here's what I bet you will happen. A lot of these guys are only going to take 2 tires.
I'm a believer.
49 laps to go. Tony Stewart leading by 2.6 seconds as you watch from our aerial coverage brought to you by Kobalt Tools. Montoya in 2nd, Truex in 3rd, Edwards and Earnhardt. Matt Kenseth trying to get back to the front, Trevor Bayne trying to have a great finish. Watch the 17 and 21 here.
Well, Trevor passed Matt Kenseth off turn 4 down here, and he passed him pretty clean, but right there, Matt gave him a little nudge.
He actually did hit that
That's
ball.
actually a little bit more than a nudge. I mean, a little nudge, but a pretty hard hit. Now, what Trevor has to be worried about, I don't see any smoke, but we don't want to cut a tire down here.
And Martin Truex, Carl Edwards were battling for third. Edwards moves up a position. So it's Stewart, Montoya, Edwards with 47 laps to go.
And I'm just chuckling about last week. 17 did Brian Vickers said he got into him, but I don't think he did. This week, pretty sure he got into 21.
Yeah. Steve?
Mike, just to give you an update on Martin Truex Jr., you mentioned the 99 of Carl Edwards went by. Truex saying, I'm a little bit freer on this run, particularly freer on exit.
Well, evidently, they have freed that race car up because he said, what you did to me the last time, the car's just loose. The back end's want to come around. But mainly when I put the throttle down to transition onto the straightaway, that's where the back end's really wanting to come around.
That's where you have to be really careful as a driver and not oversell what's wrong with your car, because you make a big adjustment and they go way overboard.
Kevin Harvick in the 29 served a penalty on the last caution flag for pit road speeding violation. He's trying to work his way back up toward the front. David Rudiman, the 00. And we're riding with Mark Martin. Yesterday's race winner has been today's invisible man.
Yeah, yesterday he was happy to finish second, I think he told me this morning, but went in the third turn and he said, lo and behold, the guy in front of me, Brad Keselowski, lost the tire and I won the race.
Up to 7th place. Here comes Hamlin.
I mean, Denny Hamlin has had a quiet day. It's just been a long day with a lot of green flag runs trying to work his way from the rear after they had to change the engine in that 11 car this morning.
And Dale Jr. now in 6th place, running the same lap times as race leader Tony Stewart. Dick?
Well, the chassis just going away on Earnhardt's car. He had said before the last round of pit stops, Mike, that the car in general has been better right after they put tires on it. And as the run gets further and further along in comparison to the other cars, he's not as good. And that's what's happened now.
We're roughly halfway through this run. We've got 43 laps to go. By my calculations, somewhere around anywhere from 10 to 15, 16 laps to go, we're going to see guys hit pit road, maybe just for fuel only. But the trends tell me, if you look at the last 5 races, we normally get a caution in the last 10 laps for a restart.
Did the trend tell us that if you took 2 tires on the last caution, you could drive away from the field, as Tony Stewart's doing?
I'm creating a new trend.
Yeah, right.
No, trends didn't tell us that. Friends didn't tell us that. Figured it out on our own.
This is the most laps Stewart has led in a race since Atlanta last September, a track configured very much like this one.
Here's another streak, another winless streak that could come to an end today with Tony Stewart.
Stewart at Las Vegas.
Tony's the only driver to win championships under our both formats, prior to the chase and in the chase.
41 laps to go. When will they pit? And how long will they stop for? So far in Las Vegas, Tony Stewart and Darian Grubb, his crew chief, are looking like winners. Their 2-tire stop on the last caution flag have put them well in front of the field, Dick, 4.5 seconds ahead of Montoya.
Yeah, but Tony Stewart knows that 2-tire stop at some point is going to cost him, and he has asked 3 times in the last several laps how soon he can come in and pit and get 4 fresh ones on and a load of fuel.
I just think he's in a box now. I don't think you can put 4 tires on that race car because he's been the poster child for 2 tires working. So regardless of what happens, green or yellow, I think he's got the left side tires he's going to have to finish this race on.
You know what else I think? Ran pretty good on 2. Let's try none. Let's give you a little gas this time. Say it like that.
Montoya
Mike,
second.
You asked me a while ago how long will they have to be there. Regardless of when they pit, any of these drivers, you only need enough fuel to make it about 10 or 12 laps.
Carl Edwards in third. He is 4.6 seconds off the lead, Matt.
Mike, 5 to 6 laps away from the 99, expecting to make their final stop on pit road. Now the scenario is where they are on fuel, they're going to need close to a can. So that's why they're debating whether they're going to go 2 tires or no tires.
Here comes the leader. Tony Stewart is coming to pit road, and everyone should soon follow. Dick.
And Tony Stewart is going to take 4 tires on this pit stop. He's run 1 races across the street on the dirt track. He's 1 down the street in the little pavement track. This could be his best chance to win on the big track here in Las Vegas. 1 can in. Gooch waits for the tire changers to get by to get the second can of fuel in. He's happy with the amount of fuel in the car. Slow up front, smoke's gone.
But the time ticks away. 13.7 seconds for Stewart. Kevin Harvick is in, Steve.
And Mike, he's trying to fight back from that pit road speeding penalty. Expect them to take right sides only on that 29 car.
Brian Vickers, Jimmy Johnson on pit road. Jeff Burton, Mark Martin, all coming to pit under green. Matt.
And Jimmy Johnson comes in for his final scheduled stop. Going to go up on the track bar. The car is just wicked tight. Significant adjustment for Johnson. 4 tires as well.
Greg Biffle also stopped. Jeff Burton slightly overshot his pit and had to back up.
You know, that was a good stop, though, for Tony Stewart in that 14 car, because they didn't have to worry about getting it full of fuel. They didn't have to wait on the fuel man. Get the 4 tires on and we can go.
The strategy was perfect, Larry. It got him track position. It got him out front. They did the right thing.
Casey Kane is in. Dave Blaney. Here's Kristen.
Brian Vickers had planned to come in around lap 244. They made the audible to come in earlier for right sides and just 1 can of that Sunoco fuel.
Vickers away. Green flag stops with 29 laps to go. And this was the stop on Greg Biffle just moments ago. Here comes the second fuel can. And a little. No, second can of gas.
That's bad news.
If they got the entire first can in there, you know, it's going to be questionable.
I didn't see any air bubbles in the vent hose, Larry, so we're not sure. Montoya is the leader. Dick.
A.J. Allmendinger in right now, Mike. A lot of people thought this was his chance to win for the first time, but that chassis has not been at all good all day. Junior will be next on pit road.
None of the top 15 at this point in the race have made this final pit stop. 28 laps to go. How long will they stretch it as Dale Earnhardt Jr. heads for pit road? Junior is in. Looks like Ryan Newman right behind him, Dick.
Right now the crew is telling Junior just how far away he is. He's going to take 4 tires. Junior's best chance to win a race on this speedway for a very long time. Car comes to the attention of his crew. It is just amazing what they did to this car. It was so slow in practice, but in the race, he's flying. Steve.
Ryan Newman in the 39 car, just right sides for Ryan Newman. Rights only. Matt.
99 of Carl Edwards. They wanted him to pit last time by. They told him to keep an eye on his fuel pressure gauge. They're going to go off Bob Osborne's call. Right side tires, 1 can of fuel. Krista.
You can feel the energy in the pit of Marcus Ambrose as Todd Parrott gives him directions. He said pit close to the wall, not too close. We're only coming in for rights. Steve.
4 tires for Martin Truex Jr. in the 56. Pat Tryson instructing him, do not wait on me. Do not wait on the gas. Matt.
And Juan Pablo Montoya is in for his final stop. 1 can of fuel, right side tires. They're going to go on the jack, and he's away.
Joey Logano, Paul Menard, and Trevor Bayne have also made pit stops. That leaves the top 5 on the racetrack. Kurt Busch, Clint Boyer, David Rudiman, Matt Kenseth, and David Reagan, also Bobby Labonte, have not stopped in this sequence.
The good news for Tony Stewart in the 14 car, it's cycled through enough. He's at least back on the lead lap.
Trouble for Joey Logano, tire violation and a penalty. Jeff.
Mike, what I like about it, and Darrell pointed it out, great pit strategy right now by Darian Grubb on that last call. They built that 3.5, 4-second lead, and he was able to now force these guys, the 99 and the 42, to put 2 on to try to keep up with them. So now it's going to be real interesting to see how it plays out, Dick.
Kurt Busch has just taken 2 tires on that number 22 car. Steve.
Matt Kenseth then, he's just going to take right side tires, rights only for Kenseth.
Bobby Labonte has made his pit stop. Clint Boyer is now in, so is David Reagan. Joey Logano's coming in to serve that penalty. Casey Mears on pit road, and so is Brad Keselowski.
I just like the strategy of Darian Grove. He took 2 when nobody else was expecting him to, and he took 4 then and made a lot of guys have to take 2. I think it's going to work out great.
Last man standing is David Rudiman, and he brings his 00 to pit road now. This will complete the round of pit stops for the lead lap cars. 15 of them.
But now that it's cycled through, Dick, 00.
Well, David Rudiman has had a good car in practice, a much better car in practice than he has had in the race. And so the wrench goes in the back window of the car on both sides. And just a 2 tire stop for him to try to get more track position.
Now that it has cycled through, this is our leader here, Carl Edwards, with 23 laps to go. He's got about a 1.5-second lead on Tony Stewart in the 14 car that's back in 3rd.
22 laps to go. Edwards, Montoya, Stewart, Ambrose, and Newman. Who will win it? Laps are winding down in Las Vegas. 17 to go in the Kobalt Tools 400. Carl Edwards is out front by 1.7 seconds. Tony Stewart is 2.2 back. Marcus Ambrose was the fastest car last time around. He's in 4th place. And Ryan Newman is 5th. Now, when pit stops began, Tony Stewart had a lead of about 3.5 seconds. But look what happened on pit road with Carl Edwards versus Tony Stewart.
Darryl, you said it at the top of the show. You can make up or lose seconds on pit road. Now, obviously, that's the difference between 4 tires and just 2 right side tires for Carl Edwards.
Yeah, and Larry, I think you might have been right, too, about the strategy. Taking 2, that forced Tony Stewart into having to take 4 on that stop. On the other hand, the 99 car had the luxury of going either way, and he went with 2.
If we get that caution that the trend shows us, the 4 tires are beautiful if we get a caution.
Well, Tony Stewart catching Carl Edwards may depend on whether he can pass Juan Pablo Montoya, who's in 2nd place. Come on.
There.
Yeah.
His name's Montoya.
He's had a great race. He's running 1.7 seconds off the lead in that blue 42.
And he's pulling away from Tony Stewart right now by about a 10th a lap.
Yeah, he's stepped it up a notch. Montoya has. Carl is actually opening up the lead a little bit, so this may be the way it's going to shake out here unless something happens.
Well, the trends say, I keep saying, I looked at the last 5 races, and 4 of those 5 races we had a caution and a restart. In some cases with less than 5 laps to go. Carl Edwards also has a lot of lap traffic up in front of him with 13 to go right now.
17 cars on the lead lap, the last of those being Jeff Burton, Trevor Bayne, and David Reagan. And yesterday in the Saturday race, the driver who took the white flag first, Brad Keselowski, cut a tire, didn't win. Mark Martin led only the last lap and went to victory lane. What we're saying, folks, don't touch that dial with 13 laps to go.
And I know Carl Edwards, I've said a couple times, he was really upset about last week because he felt like he had a car that he could have cruised to victory in. Today, told me this morning, I'm almost that good. Maybe just good enough to win.
Well, Brian Vickers and Bill Elliott battling there.
Well, and Brian Vickers is fighting for his first top 10 finish in a long, long time. You told the story earlier. In May, he was pretty much sidelined with blood clots. Didn't get the race at all last year and didn't really know what he was going to be like in a race car until he did a test at Walt Disney World Speedway in Orlando back in January.
Let me tell you, when you're out of the car for a while and you're away from this sport a little while and you get a chance to come back, you're hungry, and you will take advantage of it.
Here's the battle we spoke of. Montoya now looks in his mirror and finds Tony Stewart, who has led the most laps today, filling up his mirror.
But the problem with that is the guy they're chasing is getting smaller.
2 seconds is the gap, first to second. Here's what that looks like on the racetrack. Last week's winner Jeff Gordon out of the race. The other hometown hero Kyle Busch out of the race. Kurt Busch rebounding. He's back up to, he's into the top 10 in 9th.
Going to be a big shakeup in the points when this thing's over with today. A lot of guys that were up there. You know, Bobby Labonte's back in 24th spot. David Gilliland's out of the race.
Yep, Kyle Busch going to drop out of the top 10. Carl Edwards going to move up, as will Montoya and Menard and Hamlin.
That was Montoya that just told Brian Patty, the 42 car, I'm getting really loose with that 14 car of Tony Stewart up behind me.
6th place battle. Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex.
Got battles everywhere.
9 laps to go.
Just to document Denny Hamlin's day, had a pretty decent qualifying effort, but had to go to the rear of the field to start this race because of an engine change.
And I still say what Darian Grubb did, they had to overcome a penalty. They got back in the pack. They had to do something to get back up to the front. I still think his strategy really paid off big for them to get a great finish.
Krista?
Well, Denny Hamlin's message that he received from his crew chief Mike Ford to start this race was patience. Mike told me that track position that he had to cash in his chips on was so important. This was one of Denny Hamlin's actual best qualifying efforts here, 17th. He's never started well, but to come up from the back of the pack at a track where it's so hard to pass because of the speeds, Mike Ford is ecstatic that his driver did exactly what he told him. He was patient.
Thanks, Krista. Hey, what a day for Marcus Ambrose. He is the 4th place car. He's behind Montoya Stewart, but not by that much. If they dust it up, Ambrose is going to be right there.
And it's been a long time since he even had a top 10 finish. It's been over 12 races for Marcus Ambrose.
Larry, he's not just right there. He is eating into the lead of Tony Stewart and Juan Pablo right in front of him. He's closing quick.
And he's got about a 4-second lead over 5th place Ryan Newman in the 39 car. 6 to go.
And Martin Truex may catch Newman. That may be a battle for 5th before this is over.
The reason we have these late cautions is because you can see how hard everybody's trying for every position. That's usually where we have trouble.
How about our leader, Matt?
He just came on the radio, Mike, about 2 laps ago, and he said, Bob, the engine's making a weird noise at top end. Bob Osborne told him, just be conservative as much with it as you can. You've got a 2-second lead, and we are winding these laps down.
Now, let's see. Isn't that the same Carl Edwards that told Bob when he said, I'll be off for a few minutes, I'm coming in? Probably messing with him.
2nd place to Tony Stewart. He passes Montoya. He has 1.7 seconds separating himself from Carl Edwards, but only 5 laps to go.
Darrell, you mentioned it. Marcus Ambrose in that 9 car, he's not that far behind that 42 car of Montoya.
No, he was really closing big time when Tony and Montoya were kind of racing with each other, but I don't know if he can get to Montoya or not. It's going to be close.
1st to 2nd is a long way away with just 3.5 to go.
Carl Edwards has maybe about 1 more car he'll have to contend with, as he'll be coming to 3 to go this time.
Now that's Brad Keselowski there in front of him in a 2 car. I don't think Brad will make it easy on Carl. I don't think he'll try to hold him up, but he's not going to pull over and let him go.
Stewart pulling away from Montoya. Ambrose right there. Newman a little ahead of Truex, and Matt Kenseth coming back into the top 10 after spending half the day off the lead lap.
Had a flat tire early in the race.
Brian Vickers battling back.
See the leader going by here. As I said, Brad is like, he's not pulling over, and that's allowing Tony to close, but I think it ain't going to have enough time to get there now.
2 to go. Ambrose continues to close on Montoya, but that 5 or 6 car lengths, Montoya pulls him just a little bit in the back straightaway. That's going to be tough to make up.
Great run for Juan today. Good 3rd place finish the way it looks. White flag in the air.
Smooth, bud. Nice and smooth, man.
She's a race now, Larry.
Stewart, after that good strategy call, can get only so close to Carl Edwards. Round turn 3 and into 4. Stewart packed it in there, but Carl Edwards.
That's the first one of the season.
Carl Edwards gives Ford its 4th win in the last 5 races.
Great work, fellas.
Edwards wins the Kobalt Tools 400.
And how many races has it been since his last win? 70, or 70, wasn't it? 70.
Carl Edwards, he actually won the last 2 of
That's
last
right,
year.
he won last year. I was thinking about Tony.
So for Carl, it's been a losing streak of 2 races.
2 races, yeah. He's
Not
made
bad.
a great
Still a streak.
Great recovery.
Jack Roush with Bob Osborne atop the pit box. Carl came in here a 10-to-1 shot. And those are not long odds when you're talking racing. 19th career win. 2nd victory here at Las Vegas. And we're about to see Cirque de Carl. This beautiful gymnastics show that he puts on after every victory.
And then if he continues of what he's been doing of late, he will join the fans.
Oh, yeah. He said that's really turned out to be something special.
The difficulty there, Larry, is he's going to have to climb the fence to do it. They don't have a gate right at start finish to open. But here comes Carl.
Here he comes. He's going to climb that fence.
Going to get that flag.
All right, he's going to get the flag. Is he going to get through there somehow, Larry? He wants to.
Just not a hole to go through.
We talked at the top of the show about all the mile-and-a-half tracks in this series and how you've got to be good on them if you're going to contend for the championship. This is Edwards' 10th victory on a 1.5-mile superspeedway.
Good job, man.
Here you go, boys. That's the first one of the season. Woo!
Awesome job, buddy. Awesome job.
Explain to me how we lost this race today when we get done here.
You heard the confessions of an angry cab driver, Tony Stewart, leading the most laps but finishing 2nd. And before that, the thrill of victory from Carl Edwards in victory lane.
Well, Carl, it's been quite a week for you. You talked about flying with the Thunderbirds, jumping off the stratosphere, and you top it off with a win. What was the key to winning today?
The key to winning today is my team, my Ford team. These guys are unbelievable. Roush Fenway's great. I got to thank Aflac for being with us, Scott's, Kellogg's. Scott's Easy Seed, you can grow grass anywhere with that stuff. Sprint, Subway, all the fans. It's unreal, man. When you're a kid, you think, boy, how cool would it be to go to Vegas, fly a bunch of women there in your private plane, race cars. And I did it. I brought my mom, my mother-in-law, my daughter, and me. And we came here and we raced and we did it, and I'm having a blast.
Carl, does it mean any more coming off the disappointment of Phoenix?
Yeah, it means a lot coming off of Phoenix. We went home last week and I had no clue. I just didn't know how things were going to go from there. You only know you don't get a good race car like that very often. We had another one today. I got to thank the Air Force, the Thunderbirds. They let me fly with them on Thursday, and this trophy is going over there in their hangar. They taught me a lot about discipline and about believing in what you do, and I can't thank them enough. And all of our armed service personnel serving everywhere. This is a great day.
Enjoy the win, Carl. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
3rd win of the last 5 cup races, and a long way Carl Edwards has come from being a substitute teacher for the Columbia Public School District to flying high in victory lane here in Las Vegas. And he started up front 3rd. Worst he was 29th. That was early, and he held off Tony Stewart and Juan Pablo Montoya. Let's get some thoughts again from Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Well, he had no trouble lifting that giant wrench. That thing weighs 18 pounds, that trophy. That's no lightweight. Tony Stewart wants to know how he didn't win this race. Can you help him?
Well, I think so. Yeah, you could say it's because they took 4 tires at the end. You could say it because they took 2 tires on the next to the last pit stop. But like Darrell and I were talking, it goes all the way back to the penalty. Desperate people do desperate things, and that's what they had to do there to try to get that track position. Go with 2 tires when everyone else went with 4.
What I'm looking at is the top 10 and the people that finished in. Marcos Ambrose, what a great day for him. And you look down through there. Ryan Newman, he ends up with a great finish. People that just kind of say Martin Truex, a lot of good guys. The points are going to get shaken up after today for sure.
Guys that needed a good finish.
Yeah, needed.
Yes, and Juan Pablo Montoya, what a great day for him. And Kyle Busch, Jeff Gordon. Much expected from them. Busch with engine failure. Gordon in the wall with a cut tire. They'll have to wait 2 weeks for Bristol.
Uh-oh, Bristol. Have at it, boys.
That'll keep you up nights.
Matt?
And Tony Stewart brings the 14-car home in second place. Impressive comeback, Smoke, from the one deficit with the pit road incident.
Yeah, we just gave one away today, so I wish I can't. I don't even know what to say. We just gave one away. So this Mobile One Office Depot Chevy was the baddest thing on the West Coast today. So second sucks.
Thanks, Tony.
An emotional Tony Stewart, but the good news is after 3 of the 36 races that matter, Tony Stewart is your points leader. Kurt Busch, and it was a rough day for the Busch brothers. Second, Carl Edwards up to third. Look at Dale Earnhardt Jr., currently 11th. Jimmy Johnson, who did not lead today, 12th. And the priority is on winning. No more of this points coasting. I'll hang back. I'll think about things. They're going for the W.
We saw it last week with Carl Edwards when he got wrecked. He was frustrated because he knew a win got away from him. Today, it's Tony Stewart. He was there all day, had the fastest car, led the most laps, but in the end, he winds up second. I think Darrell Waltrip pointed it out early on today in our pre-race. That's how important it is to win.
So kind of an all-American guy, Carl Edwards in victory lane. But hey, third was Juan Pablo Montoya from Colombia, and from Tasmania, the Australian Marcus Ambrose. Let's check in with him.
Marcus Ambrose said earlier this weekend that he stuck his neck out to come over to Richard Petty Motorsports. You said they took a risk on you. After this run today, did you and them make the right move?
Well, I think I kept my job for a couple of weeks at least, so just really proud of my Stanley crew, you know. We were a little tight all day, really fought all day. Great top 5 for us, first top 5 for RPM, and just got to thank Richard Petty for believing in me and giving me a shot. And Stanley and everybody at DeWalt as well. We're going to have a great year. Todd Parrott on the box, man. He's doing an awesome job for us, and got great pit stops and a good crew, and just got a lot of energy going, a lot of good energy.
He was thrilled with qualifying. Today is good, yeah. That's Australian.
Thanks, Krista. Juan Pablo Montoya led 7 laps today. Let's get the latest from him, and our Matt Yoakum is with Juan.
Impressive run by Juan Pablo Montoya and the 42 team. How would you describe your day? Because you guys pretty much experienced it all.
It was a good day, you know. This Clark Chevy, it was good all day. We were a little bit off the pace. I mean, we needed a little bit. Last run, before we took the tires, I thought we were closer, even with Carl, but no, it just, you know, 14 was a car to beat today. But, you know, to get a top 5 here in Vegas after what happened the last few years here, it's amazing. You know, we had a really good Daytona, bad Phoenix, and we run good here. You know, 3 good finishes, at least on points is good. So, you know, this is, you know, amazing. We changed some guys on the pit crew, and they did an amazing job. It's nice to see.
Total package all the way around from Juan Pablo Montoya, third in Vegas.
And the Busch brothers, who came in first and second in points. Kyle Busch having a good run. He had some tire problems and then an engine problem took him out of the race and out of contention and out of the top spot in terms of the points. Kurt Busch was also involved in an earlier wreck, but worked his way back into contention and is currently second in points. Dick Bergman catching up with the elder of the Busch brothers.
Well, despite the disappointment, Kurt Busch pulled into his garage area and gently put the steering wheel on the dashboard. But hometown hero, you wanted to win this one.
Yeah, we gave it all we had, and crew chief made a great call to put us up front early, and we were running smooth, just biding our time. And on that restart, I got too racy. I wanted to lead. I wanted to get that bonus point. Most of all, I wanted to do it for the hometown crowd, but you can't do that. You got to race your race, let the race come to you, and I was a little loose. I just put rear brake in it, and I had Montoya on my outside, so I spun her around. But Pennzoil Ultra Dodge, what a great run today. And I just want to appreciate my crew and everybody that they've done. I mean, they're plugging away. We're right up where we need to be in points, and it's a shift to clean program with Pennzoil Ultra, so we got to go out there and get our game pieces to win. So we're real excited about today's finish. Thanks so much as well.
And you go from here to Bristol, one of your best tracks.
It ought to be fun. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Dick and Kurt. Speaking of Bristol, Carl Edwards has won at Bristol. As we check the results from the Kobalt Tools 400 here in Las Vegas, the unofficial finishing order, Jeff Hammond. You know, Jimmy Johnson has reiterated, hey, if I'm going to lose this championship, this hold I have on things, Carl Edwards is the guy. He's fast. He's a capable driver. He works well with a crew chief and Bob Osborne.
Yeah, they never panicked today, even though there was a lot of strategy going on pit road. And then like Tony Stewart said, I want to figure out how I lost this race. Well, we know how Carl Edwards won it, making the right call as far as concerned. How about Trevor Bayne finally bounces back, gets him a top 20 after winning Daytona? So a lot of these guys looking for kind of like a bounce back day. Jeff Burton found a little bit of redemption, but a lot of other guys, including Greg Biffle, well, they fell further behind after a poor finish today at Las Vegas.
Overall, 14 leaders and 21 lead changes. Tony Stewart, 163 laps led. You felt his frustration. Carl Edwards winds up winning, leading 69 laps, but the most important at the end. Tonight on Fox, Animation Domination springs forward with all new episodes of The Simpsons, followed by Bob's Burgers, Family Guy, Mike Henry, the voice of Cleveland, on The Cleveland Show. It's all tonight on Fox. Next Sunday, a great American success story at 1 Eastern, 10 Pacific, how a 20-year-old pulled off one of the greatest upsets in the history of sports. The Trevor Bayne story. And then Bristol, Tennessee in a couple of weeks at 12:30 Eastern. It's a crowded place. Drivers get testy. You'll be right on top of the action.
You see that there, Carl Edwards in victory lane with his family and his daughter. Happy times, baby. We struck the jackpot.
A new father. If you want more coverage of this race from Las Vegas, our friends over at Speed will take you through post-race activity. Well, 150,000 watched, and tires were going down, engines were blowing up, pit road problems, gas mileage miscues, aggressive driving with a greater priority on winning. And Carl Edwards came through. We are leaving Las Vegas. For Daryl, Larry, and Mike, Steve, Krista, Matt, and Dick, for Jeff Hammond and our entire production crew, I'm Chris Myers, and it's been a great start to things so far. The new NASCAR season with Carl Edwards winning today. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Next Sunday, check us out here. Thanks for being a part of NASCAR on Fox.